You did not arrive here by chance. You are here tonight because some part of you, deep within your soul, yearns for stillness. You are here because the noise of the world has grown too loud and the weight of your thoughts has become too heavy. You seek a sanctuary, a refuge not from the world, but within it. And for centuries, the great Stoic philosophers have offered the blueprint for building such a refuge, an inner citadel of unshakable calm. Tonight, their ancient wisdom will not be a lecture, but a lullaby. Their words, born from lives of immense challenge, from emperors facing plagues and wars to slaves enduring unimaginable hardship, will become a gentle current to carry your mind into a state of deep, restorative peace. You do not need to strive to remember every lesson. You do not need to analyze every quote. Your only task is to listen, to breathe, and to allow these teachings to wash over you, cleansing your mind as a soft rain cleanses the dust from a weary world. This is not just a video, it is a nightly training for your subconscious. While your body rests, your mind can learn the art of resilience, the practice of acceptance, and the path to a tranquility that does not depend on external circumstances. You are about to embark on a journey inward, to rediscover the quiet strength that has always resided within you, waiting to be awakened. Take a deep, slow breath, let go of the day, and let us begin. Tonight you will learn to build a mind that is calm, a spirit that is strong, and a life that is truly your own. The first and most foundational lesson the Stoics offer us is the art of discernment, the wisdom to distinguish between what is within our control and what lies beyond it. This single principle, often called the dichotomy of control, is the master key that unlocks the door to inner peace. Imagine you are the captain of a ship sailing across a vast ocean. You can control the rudder, the sails, and the discipline of your crew. You can study the maps, charts, and stars. These are your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, your virtues, the domain that is entirely yours to command. However, you cannot control the wind, the storms, the unpredictable currents, or the vast, unknowable depths of the sea. These are the external events of your life, the opinions of others, the state of the economy, illness, loss, and the relentless passage of time. The wise Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who knew the pain of being a slave before becoming a revered teacher, stated this with profound clarity. Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and in one word, whatever are not our own actions. The profound liberation in this teaching comes from the redirection of our energy. How much of your life force, your precious mental and emotional capital, is wasted trying to control the uncontrollable? How many hours are lost in anxiety over what someone else might think? How much peace is sacrificed, worrying about a future that has not yet arrived? The Stoic response is to consciously withdraw your energy from the realm of the uncontrollable and focus it with laser-like intensity on what is yours to govern. This is not an act of resignation, it is an act of profound strategic wisdom. When you stop fighting the storm, you can focus on steering your ship with skill and courage. When you accept that you cannot change the direction of the wind, you learn to adjust your sails. This shift in focus is transformative. The anxieties that once held you captive begin to loosen their grip. The frustrations that arose from unmet expectations of others begin to fade. You start to realize that your happiness, your inner tranquility, Your eudaimonia does not have to be a fragile vessel tossed about by the waves of fortune. Instead, it can become an unshakable lighthouse, firmly rooted in the bedrock of your own reasoned choices and virtuous actions. Tonight, as your mind begins to quiet, I invite you to gently survey the landscape of your worries. For each concern that arises, ask yourself a simple question. Is this within my control? If the answer is no, visualize yourself placing it outside the walls of your inner citadel. It still exists, but it no longer has the power to breach your peace. If the answer is yes, acknowledge it calmly, knowing that you have the power to act upon it when the time is right. For now, however, your only action is to rest, to allow this fundamental truth to sink into the deep soil of your subconscious. You are the master of your inner world, and in that mastery you will find a freedom and a peace that no external storm can ever take away. Flowing naturally from the understanding of what you can control is the second great Stoic practice, amor fati, the love of one's fate. This concept, while often associated with later philosophers, has its roots deep in Stoic thought. It is a call not just to accept what happens, but to embrace it, to love it as an essential part of your journey. It is perhaps one of the most challenging, yet most liberating mindsets one can cultivate. Imagine your life as a grand, intricate tapestry. You are one of the weavers, and you have control over the threads of your own actions, your choices, your character. However, the grand design, the interplay of colors and patterns, the unexpected knots and even the frayed edges are determined by a logic far greater than your own. You can fight against the pattern, lamenting every color you did not choose, every knot you did not tie. Or you can step back, see the beauty in the entire composition, and love the tapestry for what it is, your unique, unrepeatable life. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, encapsulated this idea beautifully when he wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This is not a call for passive resignation. It is an active, vibrant, and courageous embrace of reality. Loving your fate means understanding that every event, whether you label it as good or bad, is a necessary component of your path. The painful breakup taught you resilience. The career setback revealed a new, more fulfilling direction. The period of loneliness forced you to cultivate a stronger relationship with yourself. Amor fati invites you to see that the obstacle is the way. It challenges you to look at the very things that have caused you pain and find the hidden lessons, the disguised gifts, the unforeseen strengths they have forged within you. This is not about pretending that pain doesn't hurt. It is about understanding that pain can be a powerful teacher, and that the curriculum of life, in its infinite wisdom, has assigned you the exact lessons you need for your growth. When you practice amor fati, you cease to be a victim of your circumstances. You become an alchemist, transforming the lead of hardship into the gold of wisdom. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me? How can I use this to become a better, wiser, more virtuous person?" This shift in perspective is the ultimate form of empowerment. It means that nothing can truly harm you, because every experience, no matter how challenging, can be integrated into your journey and used as fuel for your inner fire. Tonight, as you lie in the stillness, let this idea gently permeate your being. Think of a challenge you are currently facing. Instead of resisting it, instead of wishing it away, try to open your heart to it, just for a moment. Acknowledge its presence in your life, not as an intruder, but as a part of your story. Whisper to yourself, "This, too, is my fate, and I will love it." You may not believe it fully at first, but the simple act of opening to this possibility can begin to change your relationship with adversity. It plants a seed of acceptance that, with time and nurturing, can blossom into a profound love for the entirety of your life, the light, the shadow, and everything in between. Rest now, in the quiet embrace of your own unique destiny. The third powerful tool in the Stoic arsenal for building a calm and resilient mind is the practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This might sound counterintuitive, even morbid. Why would a philosophy dedicated to tranquility encourage us to think about negative outcomes? The answer lies in the Stoic understanding of human psychology. They knew that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our unexamined, often catastrophic, expectations about them. Premeditatio malorum is a form of negative visualization, a mental fire drill that prepares you for life's inevitable challenges. It is not about wallowing in pessimism, it is about building psychological immunity. Imagine you are an archer preparing for a tournament. You would not practice only by shooting at a stationary target in perfect weather. You would also practice in the wind, in the rain, with distractions around you. You would anticipate a string breaking or an arrow veering off course. By preparing for these difficulties, you are not inviting them to happen. You are ensuring that if they do happen, you will not be paralyzed by shock or fear. This is the essence of premeditatio malorum. The Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca was a strong advocate of this practice. He advised his friend Lucilius to regularly set aside time to contemplate potential misfortunes. "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect," he wrote, "and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." By mentally rehearsing potential setbacks, the loss of a job, a financial downturn, a health issue, or even the loss of a loved one, you rob them of their power of surprise. When you have already walked through a scenario in your mind, you have subconsciously started to prepare your response. You have considered the practical steps you would take, and, more importantly, you have begun to fortify your emotional resilience. This practice does not make you anxious, it makes you prepared. It allows you to appreciate what you have right now more deeply. When you contemplate the potential loss of your health, you become more grateful for the vitality you feel today. When you consider the fragility of your relationships, you are inspired to cherish your loved ones more fully. It transforms abstract gratitude into a lived, palpable reality. It shifts your focus from what might go wrong to the profound appreciation of what is currently right. So, how can you practice this tonight in a way that brings peace rather than anxiety? As you settle into your rest, you can gently bring to mind one aspect of your life that you value. It could be your job, your home, a relationship. Now, for just a moment, imagine it gone. Do not dwell on the pain, but rather observe the feeling with a detached curiosity. Acknowledge the potential for loss. Then gently bring your awareness back to the present, to the reality that it is still here, still a part of your life. Feel the warmth of gratitude wash over you. This practice, done with a light touch, is not meant to create fear. It is meant to cultivate preparedness and appreciation. It is a reminder that life is fragile and that our blessings are not guaranteed. By facing this truth with courage, you build an inner strength that is not brittle but flexible. You become less fearful of the future because you have looked its potential challenges in the eye and recognized your capacity to endure. You learn to hold your blessings with an open hand, appreciating their beauty without clinging to them in fear. Rest now, with the quiet confidence of someone who is prepared, grateful, and at peace with the ever-changing nature of existence. From the specific practice of visualizing what can go wrong, we now zoom out to a grander perspective, a technique the Stoics used to dissolve personal anxieties and cultivate a sense of cosmic harmony. This is often called the view from above. It is an exercise in imagination that invites you to see your life, your problems and yourself from a vast universal vantage point. Imagine yourself floating gently out of your bed, through the roof of your home, and rising higher and higher into the night sky. See your house become a small shape, then your neighborhood, your city, a patchwork of lights against the dark earth. Continue to rise, seeing your country, then the continent, a beautiful swirl of land and sea. Rise further still, until the earth itself is a stunning blue and white marble, suspended in the vast, silent blackness of space. From this incredible height, from this silent cosmic perch, I want you to look back at that tiny, beautiful planet. And on that planet, in a specific city, in a specific house, is a person with specific worries. From here, how large do those worries seem? How significant are the slights you endured today, the deadlines that loom, the anxieties about tomorrow? The view from above is not meant to belittle your problems or invalidate your feelings. It is a powerful tool for gaining perspective. It reminds you of the immense scale of existence and your place within it. Marcus Aurelius practiced this regularly. In his meditations he wrote, "Think of substance in its entirety, of which you have the smallest of shares, and of time in its entirety, of which a brief and indivisible interval has been assigned to you, and of fate, of which you are how small a part." This practice serves several profound purposes. First, it shrinks the ego. Our personal dramas, which feel so all-encompassing from our ground-level view, are put into their proper context. The ego, which thrives on self-importance, quiets down in the face of cosmic infinity. The insult from a co-worker, the social media comparison, the fear of judgment, they lose their sharp edges when seen from the perspective of the stars. Second, it fosters a sense of interconnectedness, or what the Stoics called sympathia. From this high vantage point, the borders that divide us, countries, cultures, beliefs, disappear. You see one humanity living on one shared planet, all part of the same cosmic story. This realization can cultivate a deep sense of empathy and compassion, both for others and for yourself. You see that your struggles are part of the universal human condition, shared by billions of others across time and space. You are not alone in your suffering or your joy. Finally, the view from above connects you with the natural order of the universe, the Logos. You see the grand, beautiful, and sometimes terrifying dance of existence unfolding according to its own laws. This can inspire a sense of awe and a deeper trust in the process of life, reinforcing the principle of amor fati. It becomes easier to accept your fate when you see yourself as a small but essential part of a magnificent, coherent whole. Tonight, you don't need to physically float away. You can take this journey in your mind. As you lie still, allow your awareness to expand beyond the confines of your room. Feel your connection to the world outside, to the vastness of the night sky. Let the silence of space fill your mind, and with it, a sense of profound peace. Your worries are real, but they are not the whole of reality. You are more than your anxieties. You are a child of the cosmos, a temporary and beautiful expression of the universe itself. Rest in that vastness, rest in that perspective, and let the small troubles of the day dissolve into the quiet majesty of the infinite. At the very heart of the Stoic path to tranquility lies a radical redefinition of what constitutes a good In a world that relentlessly chases external validation, wealth, status, pleasure, and fame, the Stoics propose a revolutionary idea. The only true good is virtue. Everything else, they argued, is an indifferent. This is not merely an ethical stance, it is a profound psychological strategy for building an unshakable mind. What did the Stoics mean by indifference? They categorized all external things, health, wealth, reputation, pain, pleasure, life, and death, as morally neutral. This doesn't mean they are unimportant. Of course, it is preferable to be healthy rather than sick, wealthy rather than poor. The Stoics called these preferred indifference. However, they insisted that these things have no bearing on your fundamental worth as a human being, on your capacity to live a good, happy, and flourishing life. Your character, your inner state, is not determined by your bank account or your social standing. It is determined by how you choose to act, by the virtues you cultivate. These virtues are wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Wisdom is the ability to discern good from bad and to navigate the world with clarity. Justice is the commitment to fairness and kindness towards others. Courage is the strength to face fear and do what is right. And temperance is the mastery of one's desires and impulses. For the Stoics, these are not abstract ideals, they are the practical skills of living well. And the most empowering part of this philosophy is that these virtues are entirely within your control. You cannot always control your health, but you can always choose to face illness with courage. You cannot control your reputation, but you can always choose to act with integrity. You cannot control the actions of others, but you can always choose to respond with justice and temperance. This is why virtue is the sole good. It is the one thing that fortune cannot touch. Your house can burn down, your investments can fail, people can betray you, but no one can take away your courage or your integrity unless you allow them to. Your inner citadel, built on the foundation of virtue, is impregnable. Seneca expressed this with powerful simplicity. For virtue is a thing of might and valor, and it is not to be shaken by any tempest, however great. When you truly internalize this principle, your entire relationship with life changes. You stop chasing fleeting pleasures and external accolades because you realize they are not the source of true, lasting happiness. The desperate need for approval from others diminishes because your self-worth is no longer up for a popular vote. The fear of loss becomes manageable because you understand that what is most valuable, your character, can never be lost. You begin to live from a place of inner abundance, not external scarcity. The world is no longer a source of constant threats and temptations, but an arena in which to practice your virtue. Every situation, whether pleasant or challenging, becomes an opportunity to be wise, to be just, to be courageous, to be self-controlled. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, reflect on where you place your sense of value. Do you measure your worth by your accomplishments, your possessions, or the opinions of others? Or do you measure it by the quality of your character? Imagine freeing yourself from the heavy burden of external validation. Imagine the peace that comes from knowing that your core value as a person is secure, untouchable, and entirely in your own hands. This is the promise of Stoicism. It is the invitation to find your wealth not in the world, but within your soul. Rest now with the quiet dignity of someone who knows what is truly valuable and knows that it is already theirs to cultivate. Once you understand that virtue is the sole good, the next logical step in the Stoic journey is to consciously manage your desires. The human mind is a desire-generating machine. We are constantly wanting, craving and pursuing things we believe will make us happy. But the Stoics, with their keen insight into our psychology, recognized that our desires, if left unexamined, are a primary source of our suffering. They are the root of anxiety, frustration, and dissatisfaction. The Stoic approach is not to extinguish desire altogether, but to transform it, to align it with reason and nature. The key is to desire what is within our control, namely, to be a virtuous person, and to be indifferent to what is not. Epictetus taught that there are two main paths to unhappiness: desiring what you cannot have and trying to avoid what you cannot escape. Think about it. Most of our modern anxieties stem from this very dynamic. We desire a specific outcome for a project, a specific reaction from a person, a life free of any hardship. And when reality does not conform to our desires, we suffer. We feel frustrated, disappointed, or angry. The Stoics would say that the problem is not with reality, but with our desire. We have placed our happiness in the hands of things we do not command. The wise person, therefore, trains their desires. They learn to want what is already happening. They practice amor fati, loving their fate. This does not mean they do not have preferences. It is preferable to succeed than to fail, but they do not attach their inner peace to that success. Their primary desire is to act with virtue in every situation, regardless of the outcome. If they succeed, they do so with grace and without arrogance. If they fail, they do so with dignity and without despair, knowing they have done their best. This is a profound shift from a life of frantic chasing to a life of calm and purposeful action. How can we begin to practice this in our lives? It starts with awareness. Pay attention to your desires as they arise. When you feel a strong want for something, a promotion, a possession, a particular experience, pause and ask yourself, is this thing truly necessary for my happiness? Is it within my control? Often, you will find that the object of your desire is an indifferent. It might be nice to have, but your well-being, your eudaimonia, does not depend on it. This simple act of questioning can create a space between the desire and your reaction to it. In that space, you have the freedom to choose. You can choose to release your attachment to the outcome. You can choose to focus your energy not on getting what you want, but on being the person you want to be in the process. This practice also involves cultivating a sense of gratitude for what you already have. The restless mind is always focused on what is missing. The Stoic mind, the tranquil mind, is trained to see the abundance that is already present. By consciously focusing on gratitude, you naturally weaken the grip of insatiable desire. You realize that you already possess everything you need to be happy right here and now. Tonight, as your body relaxes and your mind slows, observe any lingering desires without judgment. Acknowledge them, and then gently let go of their urgency. Remind yourself that your peace does not reside in the fulfillment of these wants. Your peace resides within you, in your capacity to choose virtue, to accept reality, and to be grateful for the present moment. Let go of the striving. Let go of the wanting. Allow yourself to be content with what is. In this state of non-attachment, you will find a joy that is not dependent on circumstances, a peace that cannot be disturbed, and a freedom that is truly your own. Of all the emotions that can shatter our inner tranquility, the Stoics identified anger as one of the most destructive and irrational. They viewed it as a form of temporary madness, an acid that harms the vessel in which it is stored more than anything on which it is poured. In a world filled with frustrations, injustices, and personal slights, Mastering anger is not just a virtue. It is an essential survival skill for maintaining a calm and rational mind. Seneca, who wrote an entire treatise on the subject called On Anger, believed that anger is never justified or useful. He argued against the common belief that a little anger can be a motivator for justice or a tool for correction. For Seneca, anger is a wildfire. Once ignited, it is incredibly difficult to control and inevitably causes more harm than good. It clouds our judgment, poisons our relationships, and corrodes our own soul. The Stoic approach to anger begins with understanding its root. Anger, they argued, does not arise from the event itself, but from our judgment about the event. Specifically, it stems from the belief that we have been wronged, that someone has unjustly harmed us or violated our expectations. The moment we judge an action as an unjust harm, the emotional fire of anger is kindled. Therefore, the key to controlling anger lies in controlling our initial judgments. This requires a conscious pause between the trigger event and our response. In that pause, we have the opportunity to apply reason. We can ask ourselves a series of calming, rational questions. First, did the person truly intend to harm me? Often, what we perceive as a malicious act is simply the result of ignorance, carelessness, or someone else's own inner turmoil. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself to be tolerant of others, writing, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil." This is not a cynical view, but a realistic one that breeds compassion rather than anger. Second, we can ask, even if I was wronged, is getting angry the most effective response? Will rage solve the problem, or will it only escalate the conflict and disturb my own peace? The Stoics would argue that a calm, rational, and firm response is always more powerful and more effective than a hot-headed reaction. Calmness allows for strategic thinking, clear communication, and the preservation of our own dignity. Finally, we can practice perspective shifting. Is this issue truly worth sacrificing my tranquility over? In the grand scheme of my life, in the vastness of the cosmos, how much does this insult or frustration really matter? Using the view from above can instantly shrink the perceived offense, making it seem too petty to warrant the destructive force of anger. Tonight, you can begin to train your mind in this Stoic art. Reflect on a recent time you felt angry. Replay the situation in your mind, but this time, insert that crucial pause. Instead of reacting, observe your initial judgment. Question it. Was the harm intentional? Was my expectation reasonable? What would a wiser, calmer response have looked like? This mental rehearsal is not about self-criticism. It is about training for the future. It is about building the mental muscle to choose reason over rage. As you rest, let go of any lingering anger or resentment from the day. Forgive those who you feel have wronged you, not for their sake, but for yours. Releasing anger is an act of self-preservation. It is a commitment to protecting your own inner peace. Remember, you are the guardian of your tranquility. No one can make you angry without your consent. Your judgments are the key, and you hold that key in your own hand. Rest now in the cool, clear stillness of a mind that is free from the fires of anger. In the journey of life, we will inevitably encounter grief and loss. The bonds we form with loved ones are among the most precious aspects of our existence, and their severance through separation or death can bring a pain that feels overwhelming. While some philosophies might advocate for a complete detachment that numbs this pain, The Stoics offered a more nuanced and compassionate approach. They did not deny the reality of grief, but they sought to navigate it with wisdom, courage, and a deep understanding of nature. The Stoics recognized that feeling sadness at the loss of a loved one is a natural human response. They were not unfeeling statues. Seneca, who lost his own son, wrote movingly about his grief. However, the Stoics made a crucial distinction between the initial, involuntary feeling of pain and the prolonged suffering that often follows. The initial shock and sadness are natural. The suffering, they argued, comes from our judgments about the loss, the belief that something essential has been stolen from us, that our life is now incomplete, or that we cannot go on. To manage grief, the Stoics would first turn to their foundational principle, the dichotomy of control. We cannot control the death or departure of another person. It is one of the most profound realities that lie outside our command. To fight against this reality, to wish it were otherwise, is to condemn ourselves to perpetual suffering. The first step, therefore, is a courageous acceptance of what has happened. This acceptance is not a betrayal of the love we felt, it is an honoring of reality. Next, the Stoics would practice the art of perspective. They would remind themselves of the impermanent nature of all things. Memento mori, remember you will die, was not just a reminder of their own mortality, but of the mortality of everyone they loved. This was not meant to be morbid, but to foster a deep appreciation for the time they had with their loved ones. By living with an awareness of life's fragility, the pain of loss, while still sharp, is not compounded by the shock of unpreparedness. You knew this day would come, for all things are temporary. This knowledge allows you to cherish the memories without being destroyed by the absence. Seneca suggested that we should remember our lost loved ones, not with tears, but with a quiet and grateful joy for the time we shared. Let us greedily enjoy our friends, he wrote, because we do not know how long this privilege will be ours. When they are gone, we should not mourn them as if they were annihilated, but remember them as a treasured part of our journey. Our memories, the love we shared, the lessons they taught us, these are things that can never be taken away. They become a part of our inner wealth. This Stoic approach to grief is a delicate balance. It allows for the natural expression of sorrow while guarding against the descent into prolonged despair. It encourages us to shift our focus from what has been lost to what we were so fortunate to have had. It transforms grief from a debilitating force into a poignant reminder of the beauty and preciousness of love and life. If you are carrying the weight of grief tonight, be gentle with yourself. Allow your feelings to be there without judgment. Then, when you are ready, you can try to shift your perspective. Instead of focusing on the emptiness of the absence, try to fill your heart with the warmth of the memories. Be grateful for the love you were given and the love you gave. Understand that this pain is a testament to the depth of that love. Let the memory of your loved one be a source of strength, not a source of suffering. Let it inspire you to live your own life more fully, more virtuously, and with more appreciation for the fleeting beauty of each moment. Rest now, and let your memories be a soft and gentle comfort. The Stoics were masters of time, not in the sense of controlling it, but in the sense of valuing it as the most precious currency we possess. In a world that often measures wealth in money and possessions, the Stoics remind us that our time is our one truly non-renewable resource. Once a moment is gone, it is gone forever. How we choose to spend these fleeting moments, they argued, is the ultimate measure of a life well lived. Seneca's letter, On Saving Time, is one of the most powerful and urgent expressions of this philosophy. He chastises his friend Lucilius, and by extension all of us, for being so careless with our time. "We are not given a short life, but we make it short," he wrote, "and we are not ill-supplied, but wasteful of it." He observes a strange paradox in human behavior. People are fiercely protective of their property and money, yet they give away their time freely as if it were worthless. They allow their days to be stolen by trivialities, by pointless obligations, by the demands of others, without ever reckoning the cost. The first step to reclaiming your time, from a Stoic perspective, is to conduct a ruthless audit of your life. Become an accountant of your hours. At the end of the day, review how you spent your time. How much was dedicated to virtuous action, to personal growth, to meaningful connection? And how much was lost to distraction, to procrastination, to activities that did not nourish your soul? This is not an exercise in self-flagellation, but in clear-eyed awareness. You cannot manage what you do not measure. Once you are aware of how your time is being spent, you can begin to make conscious choices. This means learning to say no. It means setting boundaries. It means protecting your focus from the constant barrage of digital distractions and social obligations that do not align with your core values. This requires courage and self-respect. It is the recognition that your time is your life, and it is too valuable to be squandered. The Stoic concept of memento mori, remember you will die, is a powerful tool in this endeavor. By keeping our mortality in mind, the trivialities of life fade in importance. The urgency to live well, to use our time wisely, becomes paramount. When you remember that your days are numbered, you are less likely to waste them on petty arguments, on mindless entertainment, or on the pursuit of hollow validation. You begin to prioritize what is essential. This does not mean living in a state of frantic productivity. The Stoics were not advocates for a life of ceaseless work. On the contrary, they valued leisure, or otium, but it was a specific kind of leisure, time dedicated to study, to reflection, to self-improvement. It was about using free time not for escape, but for growth. Tonight, as you prepare for the deep rest that is also an essential use of time, you can set an intention for tomorrow. Intend to be the master of your day, not its slave. Decide what is truly important to you, what actions will align with your highest self, and commit to protecting the time needed for those things. Let go of the guilt of saying no to what does not serve you. Let go of the habit of mindless scrolling. See each hour as a precious gift, a vessel to be filled with purpose, virtue, and presence. Your life is the sum of your days, and your days are the sum of your hours. By valuing your time, you are valuing your life itself. Rest now, knowing that you have the power to make every moment count, starting with the one that begins when you awaken. At the very core of the Stoic discipline of action is the understanding that our character is not a fixed entity, but something that is forged in the crucible of our daily choices. The concept of the inner citadel is a powerful metaphor for this process. It represents a fortress of the mind, a place of unshakable strength and tranquility that we can build, reinforce, and retreat to, no matter what chaos rages in the external world. This inner citadel is not built of stone and mortar, but of reason, virtue, and self-control. Its walls are our well-examined judgments. Its towers are our courageous actions. Its guardians are our disciplined desires. Building this fortress is the great work of a Stoic's life. It is a daily practice, not a one-time achievement. The construction begins with laying the foundation, the dichotomy of control. By understanding what is and is not in our power, We stop wasting our resources trying to defend against things we cannot change, like the weather or the opinions of others. Instead, we focus our efforts on fortifying the things we can command, our own inner responses. Each time you choose to respond to a situation with reason rather than impulse, you add a stone to the wall. Each time you face a fear with courage, you strengthen the gate. Each time you master a desire with temperance, you heighten the watchtowers. Conversely, every time you let an unexamined emotion run rampant, every time you act out of fear or greed, you leave a breach in your defenses. The external world will constantly test the strength of your citadel. There will be storms of adversity, sieges of criticism, and betrayals that try to undermine your foundations. This is inevitable, but the Stoic knows that these external events cannot breach the walls unless they are given permission to do so. An insult only has power if you judge it to be harmful. A loss only creates suffering if you believe your happiness depended on what was lost. Your judgments are the gatekeepers of your citadel. As Epictetus said, "It is not he who reviles or strikes you who insults you, but your opinion that these things are insulting." Therefore, a crucial part of building your inner citadel is the practice of self-reflection. Like a diligent engineer, you must regularly inspect your fortress. Where are the weak spots? What judgments are allowing negativity to seep in? What fears are undermining your courage? The Stoic practice of journaling, as exemplified by Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations, is a powerful tool for this. By writing down your thoughts, you can examine them objectively, identify flawed reasoning, and consciously choose to reinforce your defenses with more rational, virtuous perspectives. This inner citadel is your ultimate refuge. When the world is overwhelming, when you feel lost or battered by events, you can retreat into this inner space of calm and clarity. It is a place where you are sovereign, where your peace is not dependent on anyone or anything else. It is the source of your resilience, your freedom, and your enduring strength. Tonight, as you lie in the quiet, you can begin this construction work. You can consciously choose to let go of the day's anxieties, knowing they are external events. You can choose to replace fearful thoughts with thoughts of gratitude and courage. You can decide that your peace of mind is your most valuable possession and commit to protecting it. With each conscious, calming breath, you are laying another stone. With each moment of intentional stillness, you are fortifying your walls. You are building a sanctuary within your own soul, a place of profound and unshakable peace. Rest now, secure within your inner citadel. The Stoic understanding of the cosmos is one of profound interconnectedness. They believe that the universe is a single living organism, a cosmic city, and that every individual being is a citizen of this city. This concept, known as sympathia, suggests that everything is mutually interdependent, woven together in a vast, intricate web of cause and effect. Nothing exists in isolation. The stars, the earth, the trees, the animals, and all of humanity are part of one coherent whole, governed by a universal reason, the Logos. This is not just a poetic or mystical idea. It is a fundamental principle that shapes the Stoic ethical framework and their approach to life. Recognizing this interconnectedness has powerful implications for how we live and how we find peace. Firstly, it dismantles the illusion of the isolated self. We often experience our lives as if we are separate individuals, navigating the world alone. But from the Stoic perspective, this is a profound error in perception. Your well-being is intrinsically linked to the well-being of the whole. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, What is not good for the beehive is not good for the bee. This realization is the foundation for Stoic social ethics. It naturally leads to a sense of duty and responsibility towards our fellow human beings. If we are all parts of the same body, then harming another is, in a very real sense, harming ourselves. This is why the virtue of justice, fairness, kindness, and public service is so central to Stoicism. It is the practical application of sympathia. Cultivating a sense of community and fellowship is therefore not just a social nicety, it is a philosophical imperative. It strengthens the whole and, in turn, strengthens us. Secondly, understanding our interconnectedness with nature and the cosmos can be a profound source of tranquility. When we see ourselves as part of a larger, ordered system, our personal problems and anxieties are put into perspective. The view from above, the practice of imagining ourselves from a cosmic vantage point, is a direct application of this principle. It helps us to see the bigger picture and to let go of our petty, ego-driven concerns. It fosters a sense of humility and awe, reminding us that we are participants in a drama far grander than our own individual lives. This perspective also reinforces the principle of amor fati, the love of fate. If we trust that the universe is a rational and coherent system, then we can trust that whatever happens, even things that seem negative to us, are part of the natural and necessary unfolding of the whole. This allows us to face adversity not with resistance, but with a sense of acceptance and even a kind of cosmic trust. We can flow with the river of life, knowing that it is carrying us exactly where we need to go. Tonight, as you lie in bed, you can practice feeling this interconnectedness. Feel the air you breathe, a gift from the trees and the oceans. Feel the gravity that holds you to the earth, connecting you to the very center of the planet. Think of the countless people, past and present, whose labor and ingenuity have contributed to the comfort and safety of your rest. You are not an island. You are a node in an infinite network of relationships. Your every action, your every thought, sends ripples out into this web. By choosing to live with kindness, with justice, and with an awareness of this shared existence, you contribute to the health and harmony of the entire cosmos. You are playing your part in the great universal symphony. Rest now, feeling the profound peace that comes from knowing you belong, that you are an essential and valued part of the magnificent whole. While Stoicism provides a robust framework for navigating the difficulties of life, it also has a profound perspective on joy. For the Stoics, joy was not the fleeting, often turbulent emotion of pleasure that comes from external things. True joy, or chara in Greek, was a deep, stable, and serene state of well-being that arose from living a life of virtue. It was the natural byproduct of a mind in harmony with itself and with nature. This distinction between pleasure and joy is crucial. Pleasures are external and dependent on circumstances. The taste of a fine meal, the thrill of an accomplishment, the praise of others, these are all pleasant, but they are temporary and outside of our complete control. If we build our happiness on the foundation of these fleeting pleasures, our peace will be as fragile as they are. We will be on a constant roller coaster, rising with every success and plunging with every failure, always chasing the next hit of gratification. The Stoics saw this as a form of slavery. True Stoic joy, on the other hand, is an internal achievement. It is the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you are living well, that you are acting with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, regardless of the outcome. This joy is not loud or boisterous. It is a quiet, unshakable cheerfulness of the soul. Seneca described it as a tranquility and a freedom from turmoil. It is the peace of a clear conscience and a rational mind. How do we cultivate this kind of joy? It is not something to be pursued directly. Rather, it is the natural result of focusing on what is within our control, our character. As you practice the Stoic disciplines, managing your judgments, desires, and actions, this deep joy will naturally begin to blossom. It comes from the self-respect you gain when you act with integrity. It comes from the freedom you feel when you are no longer a slave to your impulses or the opinions of others. It comes from the resilience you build when you face adversity with courage. It is the emotional reward for a life lived in accordance with reason. Think of a master craftsperson at their work. Their deepest satisfaction comes not from the applause they receive, but from the act of creation itself, from the skill, focus, and integrity they bring to their craft. The joy is in the process, in the excellence of their own actions. Similarly, for a Stoic, the art of living is their craft, and the joy is found in the virtuous execution of that art, day by day, moment by moment. This does not mean a Stoic life is devoid of pleasure. The Stoics were not ascetics who rejected the world. They enjoyed friendships, they appreciated beauty, they took pleasure in simple things. However, they treated these pleasures as preferred indifference. They enjoyed them when they were present, but did not grieve their absence. They knew that these external things could add to a life, but they could not define it. The core of their happiness, their joy, was internal and untouchable. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, let go of the pursuit of pleasure. Instead, reflect on the moments of the day where you acted with virtue. Perhaps you were patient when you felt frustrated. Perhaps you were honest when it was difficult. Perhaps you showed kindness to someone. In these small acts of character lies the seed of true Stoic joy. Acknowledge these victories of the soul. Feel the quiet, deep satisfaction they bring. This is a joy that no one can give you and no one can take away. It is the joy of a life well lived. Rest in that profound and peaceful joy. The Stoics taught that our reason is our most divine faculty, the very thing that connects us to the universal logos, or the rational order of the cosmos. Therefore, cultivating and trusting our reason is not just a practical tool for making better decisions. It is a spiritual practice. A mind clouded by irrational fears, unexamined beliefs, and turbulent emotions is a mind that has lost its connection to its own true nature. A calm mind is a rational mind. The first step in harnessing the power of reason is to become an observer of your own thoughts, a practice central to many contemplative traditions, but given a specific pragmatic spin by the Stoics. They urged us to act as gatekeepers of our minds, scrutinizing the thoughts and impressions that seek entry. When a thought appears, especially a disturbing one, we are not to accept it at face value. We must challenge it, question its validity, and examine its source. Epictetus advised, "Practice then from the start to say to every harsh impression, 'You are an impression, and not at all the thing you appear to be.'" This creates a crucial space between the stimulus and our response. In that space, reason can operate. We can ask, is this thought true? Is it helpful? Is it based on reality or on a distorted interpretation? For example, if you make a mistake at work and the thought, "I am a failure," arises, a Stoic would not passively accept this. They would apply reason. "I have made a mistake. That is a fact. But does one mistake make me a total failure? No, that is an irrational overgeneralization. The rational response is to learn from the mistake and strive to do better." This process of cognitive reframing is a cornerstone of modern cognitive behavioral therapy. but it was practiced by the Stoics 2,000 years ago. Reason also plays a crucial role in managing our desires and aversions. As we have discussed, our suffering often comes from desiring things outside our control or being averse to things that are inevitable. Reason allows us to analyze our desires and see their true nature. Is this desire for a luxury car truly going to bring me lasting happiness? Or is it a fleeting pleasure that will come with its own set of anxieties? Is this aversion to public speaking a rational fear, or is it an exaggerated response to the fear of judgment? By applying reason, we can align our desires with what is truly good, virtue, and accept what is natural and necessary. This is not about suppressing emotions, but about guiding them with wisdom. The Stoics believed that emotions like fear, anger, and excessive grief are the products of faulty reasoning. When we correct the underlying judgment, the turbulent emotion subsides, replaced by a more appropriate and manageable feeling. They called these rational emotions eupatheiai, which included things like a rational wish for the good, a rational caution against vice, and a rational joy in virtue. Tonight, you can practice this reliance on reason in a gentle way. As thoughts from the day drift through your mind, try not to get swept away by them. Instead, adopt the role of a calm, curious scientist. Observe each thought. Is it rational? Is it productive? If you find yourself dwelling on an irrational fear or a self-critical judgment, you can gently challenge it. You can offer a more reasonable, more compassionate alternative. This is not a struggle. It is a quiet recentering, a gentle guidance of your mind back to a place of clarity and peace. The world may be full of chaos and irrationality, but your mind does not have to be. Your reason is your internal compass, your guiding light. By learning to trust it, to cultivate it, and to use it as your primary tool for navigating life, you build a foundation of mental stability that is profound and enduring. Rest now in the clear, calm light of your own reason. Forgiveness and the art of dealing with insults are crucial skills for maintaining inner tranquility, and the Stoics offered a uniquely powerful and pragmatic perspective on this. In a world where it's easy to feel slighted, offended, or wronged, holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The Stoics understood that the real harm of an insult comes not from the words of another, but from our own internal reaction to them. They saw resentment as a self-inflicted wound. The Stoic approach to insults begins with the dichotomy of control. The words and actions of another person are external to you. They are not within your power. What is within your power is your judgment about those words and actions. As Epictetus taught, if a person gave your body to any stranger he met on his way, you would certainly be angry. And do you feel no shame in handing over your own mind to be confused and mystified by anyone who happens to verbally attack you? This is a profound reframing. The insult itself is powerless. It only gains power when we choose to internalize it, when we assent to the judgment that we have been harmed. To cultivate this resilience, the Stoics recommended several mental strategies. First, consider the source. Is the person insulting you someone whose opinion you genuinely respect? Are they a paragon of wisdom and virtue? If not, why give their words any weight? Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that the opinions of ignorant or vicious people are not worth disturbing his peace for. He saw their insults not as an attack on him, but as a symptom of their own confusion and unhappiness. This perspective breeds pity or compassion, not anger. Second, you can use humor. Seneca suggested that one of the best ways to deal with an insult is to treat it as a joke. By laughing it off, you show that the words have no power over you. You demonstrate that your self-worth is so secure that it cannot be dented by a petty remark. This not only protects your own tranquility, but often disarms the person who was trying to provoke you. A third, and perhaps the most profound strategy, is to see the insult as an opportunity to practice virtue. When someone is rude to you, it is a test of your patience and temperance. When someone betrays you, it is a chance to practice forgiveness and courage. From this perspective, the person who wrongs you is not an enemy, but an unwitting training partner, helping you to strengthen your own character. This brings us to the concept of forgiveness. For the Stoics, forgiveness was not about condoning the other person's action. It was about releasing yourself from the corrosive burden of resentment. Holding a grudge is a constant drain on your mental energy and a source of perpetual inner turmoil. Forgiving someone is a rational act of self-preservation. It is the conscious decision to let go of a toxic judgment for the sake of your own peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." The ultimate victory is not to harm them back, but to refuse to let their vice infect your own soul, to maintain your own virtue and tranquility in the face of their provocation. Tonight, as you settle into rest, I invite you to practice this radical form of self-care. Bring to mind anyone against whom you hold a grudge or resentment. Acknowledge the hurt you felt, but then make a conscious choice to let go of the anger. See their action as a product of their own ignorance or pain. Forgive them, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Release the heavy stone of resentment from your heart. Feel the lightness that comes with that release. Your mind is a sacred space. Do not allow the negativity of others to take up residence there. Protect your peace, practice forgiveness, and rest unburdened and free. The Stoics were firm believers in the power of simplicity and frugality, not as a form of self-deprivation, but as a strategic path to freedom and resilience. In a consumer-driven society that constantly tells us we need more to be happy, the Stoic call for a simpler life is more radical and more relevant than ever. They understood a fundamental truth: the more things you desire, the more you are a slave to those desires and to the external world that provides them. True wealth, for a Stoic, is not about having great possessions, but about having few wants. Frugality, in the Stoic sense, is not about being cheap or miserly. It is the art of distinguishing between our needs and our wants, and consciously choosing to focus on our needs. Our true needs, they argued, are simple and easily met: food, water, shelter, and clothing. It is our wants, for luxury, for status, for endless novelty, that are insatiable and that lead to a life of constant striving and anxiety. Seneca, despite being one of the wealthiest men in Rome, regularly practiced what he called rehearsals of poverty. He would set aside several days to eat the plainest food, wear the roughest clothes, and sleep on a hard surface. He did this not because he enjoyed suffering, but to achieve two important psychological goals. First, it was a form of premeditatio malorum, a premeditation of evils. By voluntarily experiencing a taste of poverty, he was training himself not to fear it. He was proving to himself that he could survive and even be content with very little. This practice stripped poverty of its psychological terror. When you know you can be happy with bread and water, you are no longer terrified by the prospect of financial loss. You become psychologically invincible. Second, these periods of simplicity made him appreciate his normal life more deeply. After a few days of simple fare, a normal meal tastes like a banquet. After sleeping on the floor, his own bed felt like a luxurious cloud. This practice of voluntary discomfort is a powerful antidote to the hedonic treadmill, the tendency for us to quickly adapt to new levels of pleasure and then desire even more. By intentionally resetting our baseline, we learn to find joy and gratitude in the simple things we normally take for granted. Embracing simplicity in our modern lives can be incredibly liberating. It means consciously opting out of the endless cycle of consumerism. It means finding joy in experiences rather than possessions. It means decluttering not just our homes, but our minds, freeing up our time, money, and mental energy for what truly matters: our relationships, our personal growth, our contribution to the world. Living simply does not mean living a lesser life. In fact, it often means living a richer, more meaningful one. It is a declaration of freedom. You are declaring that your happiness is not for sale. It is not dependent on the latest gadget, the newest fashion, or the approval of others. Your happiness is an inside job. Tonight, reflect on your own relationship with material things. What possessions do you own that do not add real value to your life? What desires are driving you to work and strive for things that may not bring you lasting fulfillment? Imagine a life with less clutter, less debt, less desire. Feel the lightness and the freedom that comes with that vision. You don't need to sell all your possessions tomorrow. You can start small. You can choose to buy less. You can choose to be grateful for what you have. You can, like Seneca, practice voluntary discomfort from time to time to build your resilience and heighten your appreciation. Rest now, with the peaceful knowledge that you already have enough. True wealth lies not in what you own, but in the richness of your character and the simplicity of your wants. In the bustling, often chaotic social world we inhabit, the Stoics offered a clear-eyed and practical guide to interaction. They were not recluses. Many, like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, were deeply involved in public life. Their goal was not to withdraw from society, but to engage with it virtuously and without sacrificing their inner peace. The Stoic approach to socializing is a delicate balance of justice, compassion, and self-preservation. The foundation of Stoic social ethics is the concept of oikoiosis, a term that describes the natural affinity and sense of belonging we have towards others. This expands in concentric circles from our immediate family to our community, our country, and ultimately to all of humanity, the cosmic city. This recognition of our shared humanity, or sympathia, means that our primary duty in social interactions is to be just and helpful. We are, as Marcus Aurelius said, born for cooperation. We should strive to treat others with fairness, kindness, and respect, seeing them as fellow citizens of the universe, each playing their part. However, this call for social engagement is tempered by a strong dose of realism. The Stoics knew that not everyone acts rationally or virtuously. We will inevitably encounter people who are rude, dishonest, or foolish. The key is not to let their vice disturb our virtue. This is where the inner citadel becomes crucial. We must interact with the world from a place of inner strength, not allowing the negativity of others to penetrate our tranquility. Marcus Aurelius gave himself this advice every morning: "The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil." This is not a judgment, but a psychological preparation. By anticipating the flaws of others, he was less likely to be surprised or angered by them. It allowed him to interact with difficult people with a sense of tolerance and even pity, rather than rage. When dealing with criticism or insults, the Stoics advise us to first consider the source and then examine our own reaction. If the criticism is from a wise person and is true, we should be grateful for it as an opportunity to improve. If it is false, or from a person of poor character, we should dismiss it as irrelevant noise, not worthy of our emotional energy. Our self-worth should be based on our own character, not the fluctuating opinions of others. In conversation, the Stoics valued brevity, honesty, and purpose. They warned against idle gossip and boastful talk, seeing it as a waste of time and a manifestation of an unhealthy ego. A wise person speaks when they have something of value to say and listens more than they talk. They approach dialogue not as a competition to be won, but as a collaborative search for truth. Tonight, you can reflect on your social interactions from the day. Were you just? Were you kind? Did you listen with empathy? Did you maintain your inner calm when faced with difficulty or provocation? Did you waste time on meaningless chatter? Set an intention to bring more Stoic wisdom to your interactions tomorrow. Choose to see the shared humanity in everyone you meet. Choose to protect your inner peace by not giving away your power to the opinions or actions of others. Choose to speak with purpose and listen with presence. You are a social being, and your relationships are a vital part of your life. By approaching them with the virtues of justice, wisdom, and temperance, you can not only enrich the lives of others, but also profoundly deepen your own sense of peace and fulfillment. Rest now as a worthy citizen of the cosmic community. The Stoics viewed the universe, or the cosmos, not as a random collection of matter, but as a single, rational, and divinely ordered system. This worldview, often referred to as pantheistic, sees the divine, the logos or universal reason, as immanent in all things. Nature itself is God. To live in accordance with nature, therefore, is the ultimate goal of a Stoic life. It means aligning our own individual reason with the universal reason that governs the whole. This perspective has profound implications for how we find peace and meaning. When we see the cosmos as a coherent and purposeful entity, it changes our relationship with everything that happens within it. We are no longer isolated individuals battling a chaotic and indifferent world. We are integral parts of a magnificent, interconnected whole, each with a role to play in the grand cosmic drama. This is not a philosophy of blind faith, but one of reasoned trust. The Stoics observed the incredible order and complexity of the natural world, the predictable cycles of the seasons, the intricate design of living organisms, the precise movements of the heavens, and inferred that such a system could not be the product of mere chance. It must be guided by a rational principle. By accepting this, we can begin to cultivate a deep trust in the unfolding of events. This reinforces the practice of amor fati, the love of fate. If the universe is a rational system, then everything that happens for a reason, as part of the grand, logical sequence of cause and effect. Even events that appear tragic or unjust from our limited human perspective are necessary parts of the larger pattern. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "All that is in accord with you is in accord with me, O universe. Nothing which occurs at the right time for you is too early or too late for me." This is a radical statement of trust and surrender. It is the release of our personal will to the greater will of the cosmos. This cosmic perspective is also the ultimate tool for dissolving the ego. When we contemplate the vastness of space and the immensity of time, our personal worries, ambitions and fears shrink to their proper, insignificant size. The view from above is a practical exercise in cultivating this perspective. It reminds us that we are but a fleeting breath in an eternal and infinite universe. This doesn't make our lives meaningless. It makes them part of something unimaginably meaningful. Our task is to play our small part well, to be a virtuous and rational component of the whole. This worldview also provides a powerful foundation for dealing with mortality. Memento mori, remember you will die, is not a cause for fear, but a natural fact. From the cosmic perspective, death is not an end, but a transformation, a return to the whole. Just as a wave rises from the ocean and then returns to it, so too does our individual existence emerge from and return to the cosmic substance. We are borrowed from nature for a short time, and then we are given back. There is no tragedy in this. It is the natural, rational order of things. Tonight, as you feel the gentle pull of sleep, you can connect with this cosmic perspective. Feel yourself as part of the earth, part of the solar system, part of the galaxy, part of the infinite, intelligent universe. Let go of your personal struggles and rest in the knowledge that you are a part of a perfect, unfolding whole. Trust the process. Trust the cosmos. You are exactly where you are supposed to be, doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing. You are a vital and beautiful note in the grand symphony of existence. Rest in that cosmic harmony. One of the most practical and transformative practices in the Stoic toolkit is the philosophical diary, most famously exemplified by Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. This is not a diary for recording the mundane events of the day, but a space for self-reflection, self-examination, and self-improvement. It is the laboratory where a Stoic practitioner works on their most important project, their own soul. The purpose of the philosophical diary is to bring awareness to our thoughts, judgments, and actions, and to consciously align them with Stoic principles. It is a way of making the philosophy a lived, daily reality, rather than just an abstract set of ideas. The practice typically involves two key moments, the morning and the evening. In the morning, the reflection is preparatory. You can ask yourself, what virtues do I want to practice today? What challenges might I face? How can I prepare myself to meet them with wisdom and equanimity? This is a form of premeditatio malorum, where you anticipate difficulties not to create anxiety, but to prime your mind for a virtuous response. You might remind yourself of key Stoic teachings, such as the dichotomy of control or the need for compassion towards others' failings. You are essentially setting your moral and philosophical compass for the day ahead. The evening reflection, on the other hand, is a review. It is a non-judgmental accounting of your day. Seneca advised this practice nightly, asking himself, what bad habit did I curb today? What fault did I resist? In what way am I a better man? This is not about self-criticism or guilt. It is a calm, objective assessment. You can ask yourself, where did I act in accordance with my values? Where did I fall short? When did I let my emotions get the better of me? What judgments led to my anger, fear, or anxiety? What could I have done differently? This process of self-examination is crucial for growth. Without it, we are likely to repeat the same mistakes, driven by the same unexamined habits and beliefs. The diary allows you to see your patterns clearly. It brings the unconscious into the light of conscious awareness. And once you can see a pattern, you have the power to change it. The act of writing itself is powerful. It forces you to clarify your thoughts. An anxious feeling that swirls chaotically in your mind becomes much more manageable when you put it into words on a page. You can then analyze it, challenge its underlying assumptions, and reframe it in a more rational, stoic way. Your diary becomes your private philosopher, your trusted confidant and your personal coach. It is a space where you can be completely honest with yourself without fear of judgment. It is where you can work through your struggles, celebrate your small victories in virtue, and recommit yourself each day to the path of wisdom. Tonight, you can begin this practice, even without a pen and paper. As you lie in bed, you can gently review your day. Think of one moment where you acted well, where you were patient or kind or courageous. Acknowledge it and feel the quiet satisfaction of that virtuous act. Then, think of one moment where you could have done better. Without blame, simply observe what happened and consider how you might handle a similar situation in the future. This simple mental review is the beginning of a profound journey of self-awareness and self-transformation. It is the work of sculpting your own character, of building your inner citadel, stone by stone, day by day. Rest now, with the peace that comes from a commitment to know yourself and to become the best version of yourself. In the pursuit of a tranquil mind, the Stoics understood the immense power of gratitude. This is not a superficial Hallmark card sentimentality, but a deep philosophical practice of actively focusing the mind on what is good, what is present, and what is a gift. In a world where our default mental setting is often to notice what is lacking, what is wrong, or what we desire, gratitude is a conscious and radical act of rebellion. It is the deliberate choice to see the abundance in our lives, even amidst hardship. The practice of gratitude is a direct antidote to the poison of desire and dissatisfaction. The wanting mind is never at peace. It is always chasing the next thing it believes will bring happiness. The grateful mind, however, finds happiness in the here and now. It recognizes the immense wealth it already possesses. As Seneca wrote, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Gratitude is the key to enjoying the present. How does this work? It is a matter of attention. Our emotional state is largely determined by what we choose to focus on. If we focus on our problems, our anxieties, and our unfulfilled desires, we will feel anxious and dissatisfied. If we choose to focus our attention on our blessings, our strengths, and the simple beauties of our existence, we will cultivate a state of peace and joy. The Stoics would even extend this practice to things we often take for granted. Are you breathing? Be grateful. Do you have food and shelter? Be grateful. Can you see the sky? Can you feel the warmth of your bed? Be grateful. By finding gratitude in these fundamental aspects of our existence, we build a foundation of contentment that is incredibly resilient. This practice becomes even more powerful when combined with the Stoic awareness of impermanence, memento mori. When you remember that all things are fleeting, you become intensely grateful for them while they are here. You don't take your health, your relationships, or your life for granted because you know that one day they will be gone. This awareness transforms mundane reality into a series of precious, miraculous moments. Gratitude can also be a powerful tool for dealing with adversity. Even in the most difficult situations, we can often find something to be grateful for. Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust, wrote about finding moments of grace and beauty even in the concentration camps. A beautiful sunset, a kind word from a fellow prisoner. This is an extreme example, but it illustrates a profound truth. We always have a choice about where we place our focus. By choosing to find the good, even in the dark, we maintain our inner freedom and our human dignity. This is not about denying pain or pretending that everything is fine. It is about recognizing that even in a life that contains suffering, there is also beauty, love, and goodness. Gratitude is the practice of turning our attention towards that goodness. Tonight, as you lie in bed, you can engage in this simple yet profound practice. Mentally list 3 things from your day for which you are grateful. They don't have to be monumental. It could be the taste of your dinner, a pleasant conversation, a moment of quiet, or the simple fact that you are safe and warm in your bed. As you bring each item to mind, try to truly feel the emotion of gratitude in your body. Let it be a warm, expansive feeling in your chest. Let this feeling of gratitude be the last thought in your mind before you drift off to sleep. It is a gentle and powerful way to calm the nervous system, quiet the anxious mind, and enter a state of deep, peaceful rest. You are surrounded by blessings. You only need to open your eyes to see them. The Stoics placed a profound emphasis on the role of community and our duty to others. They believed that humans are inherently social creatures, designed by nature to live and work together. The idea that one could achieve a good life in isolation was foreign to them. Our individual flourishing, or eudaimonia, is inextricably linked to the flourishing of our community. This is captured in the concept of the cosmic city, the idea that all of humanity is one body and we are all its individual limbs. This powerful metaphor, used frequently by Marcus Aurelius, illustrates our interconnectedness and our mutual obligations. "What injures the hive injures the bee," he wrote. Our primary social virtue, therefore, is justice. Justice, in the broad Stoic sense, means treating others with fairness, kindness, and respect. It means recognizing their inherent worth as fellow rational beings and acting for the common good. This social duty stems directly from the Stoic understanding of nature. Since we are all parts of the same rational universe, the Logos, our natural function, is to cooperate and support one another. Selfishness, cruelty, and dishonesty are unnatural because they go against this fundamental design. How does this emphasis on community and duty contribute to a calm mind? It might seem paradoxical. Wouldn't taking on the concerns of others add to our own burdens? The Stoics would argue the opposite. Firstly, living a life of purpose and service is a powerful source of meaning and fulfillment. When we feel that our lives are contributing to something larger than ourselves, our personal anxieties and problems tend to shrink in significance. A life focused solely on the self can become a small, claustrophobic space. A life dedicated to the common good is expansive and meaningful. It provides a why that can help us endure almost any how. Secondly, practicing justice and kindness in our interactions with others is a direct way to reduce social friction and conflict. When we treat others well, they are more likely to treat us well in return. A life filled with honest, supportive relationships is inherently more tranquil than a life of animosity and distrust. By acting virtuously, we help to create the very kind of peaceful, cooperative environment in which we ourselves can thrive. Finally, helping others is a powerful way to gain perspective on our own troubles. When we engage with the struggles of others, it often makes our own problems seem more manageable. It cultivates empathy and compassion, which are themselves calming and centering emotions. It pulls us out of the vortex of our own ego and connects us to the broader human experience. This does not mean we should neglect ourselves or become doormats for others. The Stoics were clear that our first duty is to cultivate our own virtue and maintain our own inner citadel. You cannot help others if your own mind is in chaos. The ideal is to be a source of strength and stability, first for yourself, and then radiating outward to your family, your community, and all of humanity. As you prepare for sleep tonight, Reflect on your role in the human community. Think of one small act of kindness or justice you can perform tomorrow. It could be as simple as listening patiently to a friend, offering a word of encouragement to a colleague, or being more patient in traffic. Set the intention to act not just for your own benefit, but for the common good. Feel the quiet dignity that comes from knowing you are a contributing citizen of the cosmic city. You are a vital part of the human family. Your actions matter. Your virtue matters. By living with a sense of duty and connection, you will find a peace that is not solitary, but shared, a tranquility that is not just for you, but for the world. A recurring theme in Stoic philosophy is the idea of overcoming fear. Fear, they argued, is one of the most paralyzing emotions, a product of irrational judgments about the future. It is a thief that robs us of our peace, our reason, and our ability to act virtuously. To build a calm and resilient mind, we must learn to confront and dismantle our fears with the tools of Stoic wisdom. The Stoic analysis of fear is brilliantly simple. We do not fear events themselves, but our interpretation of them. We fear not poverty, but the idea that poverty is a terrible evil. We fear not public speaking, but the idea that the disapproval of others is something to be dreaded. We fear not death, but the judgment that death is the ultimate tragedy. Since our fears are rooted in our judgments, and our judgments are within our control, it follows that we have the power to overcome our fears. This is an incredibly empowering realization. The first step is to bring your fears into the light of reason. When you feel fear, instead of letting it run your life from the shadows of your mind, you must articulate it. Write it down. Speak it out loud. What exactly are you afraid of? What is the worst-case scenario you are imagining? This practice, in itself, often reduces the fear. A vague, formless anxiety is terrifying. A specific, defined problem is something that can be addressed. Once you have defined the fear, you can apply the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. You can consciously and calmly visualize the worst-case scenario. Imagine it has already happened. Then ask yourself, and then what? Could I survive this? What virtues could I practice in this situation? How could this challenge make me stronger? This is not about dwelling on the negative. It is a form of exposure therapy. By mentally facing your fear, you desensitize yourself to it. You prove to your own mind that you have the resources to cope. You rob the feared event of its psychological terror. Seneca often advised this, saying, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." Another powerful Stoic tool against fear is the dichotomy of control. Analyze your fear and separate what is within your control from what is not. For example, if you fear losing your job, you cannot control your company's financial performance or your boss's decisions. But you can control your work ethic, your skills development, your savings, and your professional network. By focusing your energy on these controllable factors, you move from a state of passive anxiety to one of proactive empowerment. You are doing everything you can, and you are accepting the rest. This brings a profound sense of peace. Finally, the Stoics would remind us to act in the face of fear. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the judgment that something else is more important than fear. When you know what is truly good, virtue, you can act courageously, even when you feel afraid. You do the right thing not because it is easy, but because it is right. Each small act of courage builds your confidence and weakens the grip of fear. It is a muscle that grows stronger with use. Tonight, if any fears are troubling your mind, you can begin this practice. Choose one fear, define it clearly, consider the worst-case scenario and your ability to endure it. Identify what is within your control and what is not, and commit to taking one small, courageous action tomorrow that aligns with your values despite the fear. You are stronger than you think. Your reason is more powerful than your fear. By consistently applying these Stoic principles, you can systematically dismantle your anxieties and build a mind that is not fearless but courageous, a mind that is not without apprehension but is at peace with the uncertainties of life. Rest now with the quiet courage of a Stoic. The Stoics had a deep appreciation for patience, viewing it not as a passive waiting, but as an active and powerful virtue. Patience, for a Stoic, is a form of wisdom. It is the understanding that all things have their own natural timing, and that trying to rush the processes of nature and life only leads to frustration and suffering. It is a key component of a tranquil and resilient mind. In our modern world, we are conditioned for instant gratification. We want immediate results, quick fixes, and instant success. This culture of impatience is a constant source of anxiety. We become frustrated when our careers don't advance quickly enough, when our relationships don't develop according to our timeline, or when our personal growth feels slow. The Stoic response to this is to cultivate a deep and abiding patience. This patience is rooted in the understanding of the natural order of things, the logos. A seed does not become a mighty oak overnight. It requires time, sun, water, and the slow, invisible work happening beneath the soil. To dig up the seed every day to check its progress would be to destroy it. Similarly, our goals, our growth, and the healing of our wounds all require time. Patience is the act of trusting this natural process. It is the wisdom to do your part, to plant the seed, to water the soil, and then to let go of the outcome, allowing nature to do its work in its own time. This applies to our interactions with others as well. Patience is a form of compassion. It is recognizing that other people are also on their own journey of growth, and they will move at their own pace. Trying to force someone to change or to see things your way is a futile and arrogant exercise. Stoic patience means giving others the space to be who they are, to make their own mistakes, and to learn their own lessons. It is the art of listening without interrupting, of advising without demanding, and of loving without controlling. How can we cultivate this virtue? It begins with self-awareness. Notice the moments when you feel impatient. What is the underlying cause? Is it an unrealistic expectation, a desire to control the uncontrollable, an attachment to a specific outcome? By identifying the root of your impatience, you can begin to address it with reason. You can practice reminding yourself of the natural pace of things. You can consciously choose to relax your grip on your expectations. You can focus on the process rather than being fixated on the result. When you are planting a garden, you can find joy in the act of digging the soil, of planting the seeds, of watering them each day. You don't have to wait for the flowers to bloom to experience satisfaction. The joy is in the virtuous action itself. This is the Stoic approach. Voluntary discomfort can also be a training ground for patience. By intentionally putting yourself in situations that require waiting, like standing in a long line without pulling out your phone, or practicing a difficult skill that requires thousands of repetitions, you build your patience muscle. You learn to be comfortable with the process, to find peace in the waiting. Tonight, as you wait for sleep to come, you can practice patience. Do not try to force it. Simply rest. Observe your breath. Trust that your body knows what it needs. This gentle waiting is itself a form of Stoic practice. Be patient with your own mind. If thoughts arise, let them be. Be patient with your own journey of growth. It is a long and winding path, not a straight line. Trust that you are moving forward, even in the moments of stillness. Rest now in the quiet and powerful embrace of patience. In the pursuit of a tranquil life, the Stoics were clear that our relationship with public opinion and fame is a critical area for philosophical work. They saw the craving for approval and the fear of disapproval as one of the great forms of slavery, a chain that binds us to the whims of the crowd and prevents us from living an authentic, virtuous life. To build an inner citadel, we must learn to be indifferent to the noise of external validation. The Stoic analysis is, as always, rooted in the dichotomy of control. What other people think of you is entirely outside of your control. You can be the most virtuous, kind, and brilliant person in the world, and there will still be people who dislike, misunderstand, or criticize you. To base your self-worth and your emotional well-being on something so volatile and uncontrollable is to build your house on sand. The wise person, therefore, builds their sense of self on the bedrock of their own character and actions. Their concern is not, what do people think of me, but, am I living in accordance with my values? Am I acting with virtue? Epictetus bluntly warns, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. This is a radical challenge to our deeply ingrained social instincts. It means being willing to be misunderstood, to go against the current, to choose what is right over what is popular. It requires immense courage and a profound trust in your own inner compass. The Stoics offered several mental techniques to cultivate this healthy indifference. First, they would practice perspective. They would remind themselves of the vastness of time and space. In 100 years, will the opinions of these people matter? In the grand scheme of the cosmos, how significant is their praise or blame? This cosmic perspective helps to shrink the importance of social judgment. Second, they would consider the source. Who are the people whose approval you are so desperately seeking? Are they models of wisdom and virtue? Often, the crowd is fickle, irrational, and driven by base emotions. Why would a rational person entrust their peace of mind to such an unreliable jury? As Marcus Aurelius wrote, I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others. This is the great paradox we must overcome. Third, the Stoics saw the pursuit of fame as a fool's errand. Fame is fleeting, and it often comes at a great cost to one's integrity and peace. The famous person becomes a slave to their public image, constantly worried about maintaining their status and fending off critics. The Stoic seeks not to be well known, but to be a good person. The reward is not external applause, but the internal tranquility of a life well lived. This does not mean a Stoic is antisocial or disregards the community. As we have seen, they believed in our duty to be just and helpful to others, but they did so out of a sense of virtue, not out of a need for approval. They did the right thing because it was the right thing, whether anyone was watching or not. Tonight, as you lie down to rest, you can practice letting go of the need for external validation. Release the worries about what others think of you. Forgive yourself for any social mistakes you may have made during the day. Your worth is not determined by your social media likes, your job title, or the praise of your peers. Your true worth lies in your character, in your capacity for reason and virtue, and that is something that is entirely within your own power to cultivate. Anchor your sense of self in this internal foundation. Feel the freedom and the solidity that comes from this. You are the only judge of your own worth, whose opinion truly matters. Rest in the quiet confidence of that self-knowledge. The Stoics had a profound and practical philosophy on the nature of pain, both physical and emotional. They did not deny its existence or its unpleasantness, but they refused to see it as an evil. For something to be truly evil, in the Stoic sense, it had to be something that harmed our character, our ability to be virtuous. Since pain is an external impression, it cannot by itself corrupt our soul. Therefore, it is not an evil, but a dispreferred indifferent. Our suffering, they argued, comes not from the pain itself, but from our judgment about the pain. This is a subtle but incredibly powerful distinction. The physical sensation of pain is one thing. The mental story we attach to it, this is unbearable. I can't stand this. This will never end, is another. It is this second layer, our judgment, that transforms pain into suffering. Epictetus put it this way: if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now. This is the key to Stoic pain management, the separation of the physical sensation from the mental narrative. It is the practice of observing the pain with a kind of detached, objective curiosity, without adding the fuel of catastrophic thinking to the fire. You can acknowledge the sensation. There is a throbbing in my knee. There is a feeling of tightness in my chest, without adding the judgment. This is terrible, and it's ruining my life. This requires immense mental discipline, but it is a skill that can be cultivated. One powerful technique is to focus on the present moment. Pain often becomes overwhelming when our minds project it into the future. We worry about how long it will last, how much worse it will get. The Stoics would advise us to bring our attention back to the now. Can you endure this single moment of pain? The answer is almost always yes. By breaking down the experience into a series of manageable moments, we prevent our minds from being crushed by the imagined weight of future suffering. Another Stoic strategy is to remember the virtues that pain allows us to practice. Physical pain is an opportunity to exercise courage, endurance, and patience. Emotional pain can be a catalyst for developing compassion, resilience, and wisdom. From this perspective, pain is not just something to be endured. It is a training ground for our character. It is a chance to prove our strength and to become a better, more resilient person. Marcus Aurelius, who suffered from chronic illness for much of his life, wrote extensively about this. He reminded himself to see pain as something that does no harm to the ruling faculty, our reason and our will. He would tell himself, "This is neither unbearable nor unending, as long as you remember its limits and don't add to it by your own imagination." This is not about denying the reality of pain or toughing it out. It is a sophisticated psychological approach that empowers us to change our relationship with pain. It gives us agency in a situation where we can often feel helpless. We may not be able to eliminate the physical sensation, but we can refuse to surrender our inner peace to it. Tonight, if you are experiencing any form of pain, physical or emotional, you can gently apply these principles. Do not fight the sensation. Simply observe it. Acknowledge its presence without judgment. Remind yourself that it is a temporary sensation and that you have the inner resources to endure it. Focus on your breath. And remember that this experience too is an opportunity to practice your virtue, to be courageous, to be patient, to be strong. Your soul is more powerful than your pain. Rest in that knowledge. The Stoics teach that our journey through life should be guided by intention, not by impulse. In a world that pulls our attention in 1,000 different directions, A life lived without a clear purpose can feel scattered, chaotic, and unfulfilling. The practice of living with intention is about consciously choosing our direction, aligning our daily actions with our deepest values, and moving through the world with a sense of purpose and clarity. This starts with defining your why. Why are you here? What kind of person do you want to be? What values do you want to embody? For a Stoic, the ultimate purpose is to live a life of virtue, to live in accordance with nature and reason. This becomes the guiding star, the North Star by which all other decisions are navigated. When you have this overarching purpose, it brings a sense of order and coherence to your life. Your daily choices are no longer random. They are expressions of this core intention. Living with intention means you are the author of your life, not a passive character being written by external circumstances. It is the difference between consciously steering your ship and simply drifting with the currents. This requires mindfulness and self-awareness. You must be present in your own life, paying attention to your choices and their consequences. It means regularly pausing to ask yourself, is this action, this thought, this commitment moving me closer to the person I want to be, or is it taking me further away? This is not about rigid, inflexible planning. The Stoics were well aware of the unpredictable nature of life. They knew that we cannot control outcomes, but we can always control our intentions. You can intend to be a compassionate and patient parent, even if your child is having a difficult day. You can intend to be a diligent and honest employee, even if your project faces unexpected setbacks. Your intention is the one thing that is always and completely within your control. This focus on intention rather than outcome is a profound source of peace. It frees you from the anxiety of needing things to turn out a certain way. Your success is not measured by external achievements, but by the integrity of your own efforts. As long as you are acting with good intention, with virtue, you are succeeding in the way that matters most. How can you cultivate a more intentional life? It begins with reflection. Take time to clarify your values. What is truly important to you? Honesty, compassion, growth, courage. Write them down. Make them explicit. Then use these values as a filter for your decisions. Before you commit to something, ask if it aligns with your values. Learn to say no to things that, while perhaps tempting or socially expected, do not serve your higher purpose. Practice a morning ritual. Before the day begins, take a few moments to set your intentions. Remind yourself of the kind of person you want to be today. This simple act can frame your entire day, making you more mindful and purposeful in your actions. At the end of the day, as part of your philosophical journaling, you can review your day in light of your intentions. Where did you succeed? Where did you stray? Again, this is not for self-blame, but for learning and recalibration. It is the process of consciously sculpting your own life. Tonight, as you rest, you can set a powerful intention for your sleep itself. Intend for it to be a time of deep restoration, not just for your body, but for your soul. Intend to release the day's worries and to awaken with a renewed sense of clarity and purpose. A life of intention is a life of meaning. It is a life of peace. It is a life that is truly your own. Rest now with the quiet power of a clear and focused intention. The Stoics understood that the human journey is not a solitary one. While they placed immense emphasis on building an individual's inner citadel, they also recognized that we are profoundly shaped by the people we choose to learn from. The role of a mentor or a sage is a crucial component of the Stoic path to wisdom. A wise person does not assume they have all the answers, they humbly seek guidance from those who have walked the path before them. Finding a mentor in the modern world may not mean seeking out a robed philosopher in an ancient Athenian marketplace. A mentor can be anyone who embodies the virtues you wish to cultivate. It could be a teacher, a boss, a family member, a historical figure, or even a character in a book. The key is to identify people who live with integrity, courage, and wisdom, and to consciously choose to learn from them. Seneca, in his letters to Lucilius, played the role of a mentor. He shared his wisdom, offered guidance, and encouraged his friend on the philosophical path. He also urged Lucilius to find his own role models. Choose a Cato, he wrote, or, if Cato seems too severe a model, choose some Laelius, a man of a gentler spirit. The idea is to have a guardian, a moral exemplar, whose imagined presence can guide your actions. Before you act, you can ask yourself, what would this person do in this situation? Would they approve of my choice? This practice provides a powerful external check on our impulses and helps to keep us aligned with our highest values. The Stoics also believed in the power of learning from the collective wisdom of the past. They were avid readers of the philosophers who came before them. They studied their teachings, debated their ideas, and sought to integrate their wisdom into their own lives. This is a form of mentorship that is available to all of us. The great books, the timeless philosophical texts, are a wellspring of guidance. By engaging with these minds, we are, in a sense, being mentored by the wisest souls in human history. We can learn from their successes, their failures, and their profound insights into the human condition. When choosing a mentor or a role model, the Stoics would advise us to look not at their external achievements, their wealth, fame, or power, but at their character. The true measure of a person is their virtue. Is this person just? Are they courageous? Do they have mastery over themselves? Are they wise? These are the qualities to seek and to emulate. This practice of mentorship also cultivates humility. It is the recognition that we do not have all the answers, that we are fallible, and that we have much to learn. This humility is a prerequisite for true wisdom. The arrogant person who believes they know everything is unteachable. The humble person who is aware of their own ignorance is always open to growth. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, you can reflect on the mentors in your own life. Who are the people, living or dead, who inspire you to be a better person? Bring their image to your mind. Feel gratitude for the wisdom and guidance they offer. You can also set an intention to be more open to learning from the people you encounter every day. Every person you meet has something to teach you, even if it is a lesson in what not to do. By adopting the mindset of a humble student, you turn your entire life into a classroom, and everyone you meet into a potential teacher. Rest now in the company of the wise, knowing that you are part of a great tradition of seeking, learning, and growing. The Stoic concept of the body is one of pragmatic and respectful stewardship. They viewed the body not as the self, but as the vessel for the self, the soul, or the ruling faculty of reason. The body is a preferred indifferent. It is preferable to have a healthy, functional body than a sick or weak one, but our physical state does not determine our virtue or our capacity for happiness. Our true self, our character, is independent of our physical form. This perspective is incredibly liberating, especially in a modern culture that is often obsessed with physical appearance and the pursuit of bodily perfection. The Stoic would see this obsession as a mistake, a misplacing of value. To invest one's self-worth in something as fragile and temporary as the body is to set oneself up for inevitable suffering. The body will age, it will get sick, it will eventually fail. To cling to its youth and beauty is to fight a losing battle against nature. The wise person, therefore, cultivates a healthy detachment from their physical form. They care for their body, but they do not identify with it. They treat it as a tool, a partner in the project of living a virtuous life. This means taking rational care of one's health. The Stoics were not advocates for a life of hedonistic indulgence, or, conversely, of extreme asceticism that harms the body. They would recommend a balanced diet, moderate exercise, and adequate rest, not for the sake of vanity, but because a healthy body is a more effective instrument for the soul. A mind is clearer and more capable of rational thought when it is not clouded by the fog of poor health. However, they also practiced voluntary hardship, as we have discussed, to train themselves not to be slaves to bodily comfort. By intentionally experiencing hunger, cold, or physical exertion, they proved to themselves that their spirit could remain tranquil and strong even when their body was uncomfortable. This builds a profound resilience to physical hardship. When you know you can endure discomfort, you are no longer afraid of it. This Stoic perspective is particularly helpful in dealing with illness, injury, and the aging process. When the body weakens or is in pain, it is easy to fall into despair. But the Stoic reminds themselves, "My body is in pain, but my soul can remain at peace. My body is weak, but my will can remain strong." This physical challenge is an opportunity to practice the virtues of courage, patience, and endurance. This is the ultimate expression of the inner citadel, the ability to maintain one's inner tranquility and moral purpose even when the physical vessel is failing. It is the recognition that you are not your body. You are the consciousness, the reason, the soul that inhabits it. Tonight, as you lie in your bed, you can practice this respectful detachment. Feel your body. Be grateful for its ability to breathe, to feel, to rest. Send it a sense of care and appreciation. But also, gently, create a sense of space between your awareness and your physical form. Recognize that you are the observer, the one who is aware of the body. You are the timeless, formless consciousness that is experiencing this physical reality. Your body is a precious gift for this journey of life. Care for it wisely. Use it to perform virtuous actions. But do not confuse it with who you truly are. You are something far greater, far more enduring, and far more powerful. Rest in the peace of that profound self-knowledge. The Stoic philosophy offers a nuanced and highly relevant perspective on ambition. In a society that often glorifies ambition as the primary engine of success, the Stoics would urge caution and discernment. They were not against ambition per se, but they were deeply concerned with its object and its nature. An ambition for external things, for wealth, fame, power, was seen as a potential trap, a source of anxiety and a threat to one's virtue. The Stoic ideal is to direct one's ambition inward. The primary, and indeed the only worthy, ambition for a Stoic is the ambition to become a better person, to cultivate the virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. This is an ambition that is entirely within our control, and one that leads to true, lasting fulfillment, or eudaimonia. When your ambition is to be a person of integrity, every day presents countless opportunities for success. You can succeed in being patient in a traffic jam. You can succeed in being honest in a difficult conversation. You can succeed in being generous when no one is watching. This kind of ambition is not dependent on the approval of others or the whims of fortune. It is a source of profound self-respect and inner peace. What about ambition for external goals, like a successful career or a creative project? The Stoics would not necessarily discourage this, but they would advise us to approach it with a specific mindset. The key is the reserve clause, the practice of undertaking an action with a reserve clause, hypexairesis in Greek. This means that you apply your full effort and intention to an external goal, but you always add a mental footnote. If nothing prevents me, or fate permitting. You do your very best, but you detach yourself from the outcome. You control the process, but you accept that the result is not entirely up to you. This is the attitude of the Stoic archer. The archer does everything in their power to shoot the arrow well. They control their stance, their breath, their aim, their release. This is their virtue in action. But once the arrow leaves the bow, it is subject to the wind and other factors beyond their control. The archer's success is not defined by whether the arrow hits the bullseye, but by whether they shot the arrow with skill and focus. They did their part well. The rest is up to fate. By adopting this mindset, you can be ambitious without being anxious. You can pursue great things in the world without making your inner peace a hostage to your success. You are free to strive, to create, to lead, but your self-worth is not on the line. If you succeed, you accept it with gratitude and without arrogance. If you fail, you accept it with equanimity and without despair, knowing you did your best. You learn from the experience and move on. This is a powerful way to navigate the challenges of a competitive world. It allows you to be effective and driven while maintaining your inner citadel of calm. It protects you from the emotional roller coaster of highs and lows that comes with a life fixated on external results. Tonight, reflect on your own ambitions. What are you striving for? Is your primary ambition for external things or for the development of your own character? Can you reframe your external goals with the reserve clause? Can you learn to find your satisfaction in the effort, in the process, in the virtuous action itself, rather than solely in the outcome? Set an intention to be ambitious in the Stoic sense. Be ambitious for wisdom. Be ambitious for courage. Be ambitious for kindness. This is the one ambition that will never lead to disappointment. It is the path to a life that is not just successful in the eyes of the world, but is truly good, peaceful, and free. The art of listening is a deeply underrated and profoundly Stoic practice. In a world filled with noise, where everyone is eager to express their own opinion, the person who can truly listen possesses a rare and powerful skill. For the Stoics, listening was not a passive act of hearing words, but an active process of understanding, empathy, and rational analysis. It is a cornerstone of wisdom and a vital component of living a just and harmonious social life. Epictetus, the great Stoic teacher, famously said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This is not just a clever aphorism, it is a deep philosophical prescription. Why is listening so important? Firstly, it is the primary way we learn. The wise person is a perpetual student, and they know that they can learn something from everyone they meet. By listening with an open and humble mind, we gain new perspectives, we challenge our own assumptions, and we expand our understanding of the world. The person who is always talking is trapped in the echo chamber of their own mind. The person who listens has access to the collective wisdom of humanity. Secondly, true listening is an act of justice and respect. When you give someone your full, undivided attention, you are validating their humanity. You are saying, "I see you, I hear you, your perspective matters." This is a profound gift to offer another person, and it is the foundation of strong, trusting relationships. In a world of distraction, where people are often half listening while scrolling through their phones, the simple act of present, focused listening can be a radical act of kindness. Thirdly, listening is crucial for self-control and emotional regulation. Often, our impulsive, angry, or defensive reactions come from a failure to listen. We react not to what the person actually said, but to what we thought they said, or what we feared they meant. By training ourselves to listen patiently and fully before we respond, we create that vital space for reason to operate. We can seek to understand before we seek to be understood. We can ask clarifying questions. We can separate the objective facts of what was said from our own subjective interpretation. This practice is a powerful way to de-escalate conflict and to maintain our own inner peace. How can we become better listeners? It starts with the intention to do so. In your next conversation, make a conscious effort to be fully present. Put away distractions. Make eye contact. Listen not just to the words, but to the emotions behind them. Try to understand the other person's perspective from their point of view, not just your own. Resist the urge to interrupt, to formulate your rebuttal while they are still speaking. Just listen. When they are finished, you can pause for a moment before you respond. This small pause can make all the difference. It allows you to process what you have heard and to choose your response with wisdom and intention rather than reacting from impulse. Tonight, as you transition from the world of sound and speech to the world of inner silence, you can appreciate the value of listening. Your own mind is constantly talking. You can practice listening to your own thoughts with the same patient, non-judgmental attention you would offer a friend. What are your thoughts telling you? What are your deeper feelings trying to communicate? By becoming a good listener to your own inner world, you cultivate a profound self-awareness that is the bedrock of a tranquil life. Rest now in the deep, receptive silence. In the Stoic pursuit of a virtuous life, humility is not a sign of weakness, but a mark of profound wisdom. It is the clear-sighted and honest recognition of our own fallibility, our limitations, and our place in the vastness of the cosmos. Humility is the antidote to arrogance or hubris, which the ancient Greeks saw as one of the greatest and most dangerous of human flaws. The arrogant person believes they are superior, that they have all the answers, and that they are exempt from the laws of nature and fortune. This is a fragile and delusional state, one that is easily shattered by the realities of life. The humble person, on the other hand, is grounded in reality. They know that they are a work in progress, that there is always more to learn, and that they are subject to the same fate as all other human beings. This is not a source of despair, but of a quiet and steady strength. The Stoic practice of humility begins with self-awareness. The philosophical diary is a tool for this, a place to honestly assess our own actions and to recognize our mistakes without harsh self-judgment. By acknowledging our own capacity for folly, we become more tolerant and compassionate towards the failings of others. The person who is acutely aware of their own flaws is less likely to be arrogantly judgmental of their neighbors. The view from above is another powerful practice for cultivating humility. When we contemplate the infinite expanse of the universe and the brief span of our own existence, our ego naturally recedes. Our personal achievements and failures, which seem so monumental from our ground-level perspective, are seen for what they are, small, fleeting events in an immense cosmic drama. This doesn't make our lives insignificant. It makes them part of a magnificent and awe-inspiring whole. which is a profoundly humbling realization. Humility also shapes our approach to learning. The person who thinks they know everything is unteachable. Their mind is closed. The humble person who recognizes the vastness of their own ignorance is a perpetual student. They are open to new ideas, they listen with curiosity, and they are willing to change their mind in the face of reason and evidence. As Socrates, a major influence on the Stoics, famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." This is the intellectual humility that is the gateway to all true knowledge. In our social interactions, humility means letting go of the need to be right, to win every argument, or to have the last word. It means valuing collaboration over competition and understanding over assertion. It is the quiet confidence that does not need to boast or to dominate. It is the strength to admit when you are wrong and to apologize sincerely. This is not about having low self-esteem. On the contrary, Stoic humility is rooted in a deep and secure sense of self-worth that is based on character, not on external validation. The person who is truly confident in their own virtue has no need for arrogance. They can afford to be humble. Tonight, as you settle into a state of rest, you can embrace the peaceful strength of humility. Let go of the need to be perfect. Let go of the need to have all the answers. Acknowledge your own humanity with all its beautiful imperfections. You are a student in the great school of life, and that is a noble and wonderful thing to be. Rest in the quiet grace of not knowing, and be open to the wisdom that the universe has yet to reveal to you. The Stoics taught that a life of virtue is a life lived in accordance with nature, and this includes our own human nature. As rational and social beings, our purpose is not to live in a state of constant passive tranquility, but to actively engage in the world in a way that is helpful and just. This leads to the Stoic concept of duty, or kathekon in Greek. Duty is not a grim or burdensome obligation, but the natural and proper function of a rational soul. It is the joyful expression of our highest selves. Our duties are determined by our various roles in life. We have duties as family members, as a child, a parent, a sibling. We have duties as a friend. We have duties as a citizen of our community and of the world. And we have a fundamental duty to ourselves, to cultivate our own character and to live a life of integrity. For a Stoic, fulfilling these duties is not a chore to be endured. It is the very substance of a good life. The joy is not in the outcome, but in the virtuous action itself. When you act with kindness towards a family member, you are not doing it to get something in return. You are doing it because it is the right and natural thing for a kind person to do. The reward is in the act itself. This focus on duty and process, rather than on results, is a powerful source of inner peace. We cannot always control the outcomes of our actions. We can care for a sick relative with all the love and diligence in the world, but we cannot control the course of their illness. We can work for justice in our community, but we cannot guarantee that justice will prevail. But we can always control our own efforts, our own intentions. By focusing on fulfilling our duty to the best of our ability, we find a satisfaction that is independent of external results. We can rest with a clear conscience, knowing we have done our part. Marcus Aurelius, as emperor, felt a profound sense of duty to his people. His meditations are filled with reminders to himself to get out of bed in the morning, not for his own pleasure, but to do the work of a human being, the work for which he was made. He saw his role not as a pathway to power and glory, but as a sacred trust, a duty to serve the common good. This sense of purpose gave him the strength to endure the immense pressures of his office. How can we apply this concept of duty in our own lives without it feeling like a heavy burden? The key is to see our duties not as things we have to do, but as opportunities to practice virtue. Your job is not just a way to earn a living, it is a chance to practice diligence, honesty, and cooperation. Your family responsibilities are not just obligations, they are a chance to practice patience, love, and compassion. Every role you play is a gymnasium for your soul. This reframing transforms the mundane into the meaningful. It infuses our daily lives with a sense of purpose and dignity. We are no longer just going through the motions. We are actively engaged in the great work of becoming better human beings and making the world a better place. Tonight, as you lie down to rest, you can reflect on your own roles and the duties they entail, not with a sense of pressure, but with a sense of gratitude for the opportunities they provide. Feel the quiet satisfaction that comes from a day where you have tried your best to fulfill your duties, to be a good friend, a good family member, a good citizen. This is the peace that comes not from avoiding responsibility, but from embracing it with a willing and virtuous heart. Rest now, knowing that in fulfilling your duties, you are aligning yourself with the rational order of the universe and finding your own true purpose. As we draw this journey through the core tenets of Stoicism to a close for the night, it is fitting to revisit the practice that ties all the others together: self-reflection. The Stoic life is an examined life. It is a life of constant, gentle, and honest self-observation. Without this practice, the philosophical principles remain just beautiful ideas. It is through self-reflection that they become embodied wisdom, a lived reality. The Stoics were not interested in dogma or blind belief. They were interested in what works, in what actually leads to a life of tranquility and virtue. And the only way to know what works for you is to pay attention to your own inner experience. This is why the philosophical diary, as practiced by Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, is such a powerful and central tool. It is the daily work of checking in with your own ruling faculty, your reason. The evening review, as we have touched upon, is a cornerstone of this practice. It is a time to look back on the day, not with the harsh eye of a critic, but with the compassionate curiosity of a scientist. You observe your own behavior. Where did I act with reason and virtue today? Where did I succumb to an irrational passion like anger or fear? What were the judgments that led me astray? By identifying the specific thought patterns that lead to your emotional disturbances, you can begin to challenge and reframe them. This is the work of cognitive hygiene, of keeping your mind clear and rational. This practice cultivates a profound sense of personal responsibility. The Stoic does not blame external events or other people for their unhappiness. They know that their inner state is their own creation. The diary is a tool for taking ownership of that creation. It is a commitment to being the conscious author of your own life story, rather than a passive victim of its plot twists. Self-reflection also helps us to track our progress. The path to wisdom is long, and it is not always a straight line. There will be good days and bad days. The diary allows you to see your journey over time. You can look back and see how far you have come, how you are no longer troubled by things that used to cause you immense anxiety, how you have become more patient, more courageous, more just. This provides encouragement and reinforces your commitment to the path. It proves to you that the philosophy works. Most importantly, this practice of self-reflection is an act of self-compassion. It is the act of taking time for yourself, of listening to your own soul, of tending to your own inner garden. In a world that constantly demands our attention be focused outward, turning inward is a radical act of self-care. It is the recognition that your inner peace is the most important project you will ever work on. Tonight, as the final thoughts of the day begin to fade, you can engage in one last, gentle act of self-reflection. Ask yourself, what is one thing I learned today? What is one way I can be a little bit better, a little bit wiser tomorrow? Do not search for a grand or dramatic answer. The smallest insight, the slightest shift in perspective, is a victory. The journey to a calm and stoic mind is built of these small daily steps. It is a lifelong practice of paying attention, of learning, of growing, and it is the most rewarding journey you can ever undertake. Rest now. The day's work is done. You have reflected, you have learned. Now, surrender to the peace of a mind that is at home with itself. The culmination of all Stoic practice is the attainment of a state the Greeks called apatheia. This term is often mistranslated as apathy, leading to the common misconception of Stoics as cold and unfeeling. This could not be further from the truth. Apatheia does not mean the absence of feeling. It means the absence of pathos, of irrational, unhealthy, and disturbing passions. It is a state of profound inner tranquility, a freedom from the turmoil of emotional disturbance. It is the peace of the wise. Apatheia is the state of the inner citadel when its walls are strong and its gates are well guarded. It is the result of consistently applying the Stoic disciplines. When you master your judgments, you are no longer disturbed by external events. When you master your desires, you are free from the torments of craving and disappointment. When you master your actions, you live with the clear conscience that comes from a life of virtue. This is not a state of emotional numbness. The Stoic sage still experiences emotions. They feel joy, they feel love, they feel a rational caution in the face of vice, but they do not feel the turbulent, overwhelming passions of anger, terror, or obsessive lust. Their emotional life is like a deep, calm ocean, not a stormy, chaotic sea. Their feelings are in harmony with their reason. This state of tranquility is not a gift of fortune. It is an achievement of the soul. It is the prize of a lifetime of philosophical work, and it is a state that is available to all of us if we are willing to undertake the practice. It is the ultimate freedom, the freedom from our own inner chaos. It is the freedom to be who we truly are, rational, social, and virtuous beings. The journey to apatheia is a journey of letting go. It is letting go of our attachment to external things. It is letting go of our irrational fears and desires. It is letting go of our ego and our need for validation. It is letting go of our resentment and our grievances. With each thing we let go, we become lighter, freer, and more at peace. This is the deep and abiding calm that Stoicism promises. It is not a temporary fix or a superficial relaxation technique. It is a fundamental restructuring of our relationship with the world and with ourselves. It is the building of an inner peace so profound that it cannot be shaken by the storms of life. Tonight, as you prepare to enter the deep calm of sleep, you can have a taste of this Stoic peace. Let go of the day. Let go of your worries. Let go of your striving. For these next few hours, be free from all passions. Allow your mind to become a still, clear lake, reflecting the quiet beauty of the night sky. This is your natural state. This is the peace that is always available to you, beneath the surface of your thoughts and emotions. It is the peace of your own reason, your own soul. You have journeyed through the core teachings of Stoic philosophy tonight. You have learned to distinguish what you can control from what you cannot. You have been invited to love your fate, to prepare for adversity, and to see the world from a cosmic perspective. You have been reminded that virtue is the only true good, and that your character is your most valuable possession. You have explored the paths to managing anger, grief, and fear, and to cultivating joy, patience, and community. These are not just ideas, they are seeds, and the soil of your mind, especially in this quiet, receptive state before sleep, is fertile ground. Let these seeds take root. Do not worry about remembering them all. Simply trust that they have been planted. With each night of rest, with each new day of practice, they will grow, and you will find yourself, slowly but surely, building a life of profound tranquility, unshakable resilience, and enduring wisdom. You are building your inner citadel, and within that fortress you will always be safe, you will always be free, and you will always be at peace. Good night. Imagine yourself standing on the shore of a vast, tranquil ocean as the sun begins its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange, pink, and purple. The waves gently kiss the sand, their rhythmic sound a soothing mantra that quiets the mind. In this moment, there are no demands, no deadlines, no worries. There is only the simple, profound beauty of the present. This is the state of inner peace that we all seek, a state that often feels elusive in the relentless pace of our modern lives. But what if this tranquility was not a fleeting experience, dependent on a perfect sunset or a quiet beach? What if it was a state you could cultivate within yourself, an inner ocean of calm that you could return to at any time, regardless of the external storms? This is the promise of the Stoic path, a journey not to a destination, but to a way of being. Tonight, we continue this journey, delving deeper into the timeless wisdom of the Stoics, exploring the practical tools they offer for building a life of purpose, resilience, and unshakable peace. Their philosophy is a guide to mastering the art of living, and its lessons are as relevant today as they were 2,000 years ago. You are here because you are ready to listen, to learn, and to transform. So, take a deep breath, release the tensions of the day, and let the gentle current of this ancient wisdom carry you towards a state of deep and restful calm. Let us begin with a cornerstone of Stoic thought that is both profoundly simple and radically transformative: the power of perspective. The Stoics understood that our experience of reality is not shaped by events themselves, but by the lens through which we view them. Our judgments, our interpretations, our inner narratives, these are the powerful filters that color our world. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, life itself is but what you deem it. This is an incredible statement of empowerment. It means that we are the artists of our own experience. We can choose to paint our lives with the dark colors of fear, resentment, and victimhood, or we can choose the bright hues of courage, gratitude, and opportunity. The Stoic practice is to consciously and deliberately choose the latter. One of the most powerful techniques for shifting perspective is what we've called the view from above. It is the practice of mentally zooming out from our immediate situation to see it within a larger context. When you are feeling overwhelmed by a problem at work, you can imagine yourself looking down on your office from the sky, then from space. From that cosmic vantage point, how significant does that problem really seem? This exercise is not meant to invalidate your feelings, but to right-size them, to prevent a small problem from casting a large shadow over your entire peace of mind. Another key aspect of managing perspective is to practice objective representation, or fantasia cataleptica. This means striving to see events as they are, stripped of our emotional judgments and subjective labels. Instead of saying, "I had a disastrous meeting," a Stoic would say, "I had a meeting, and the outcome was not what I had hoped for." The first statement is a story of failure and despair. The second is a statement of fact, one that allows for a rational, problem-solving response rather than an emotional tailspin. This practice requires us to become vigilant observers of our own language, both internal and external. Our words shape our reality. By choosing neutral, objective language, we can maintain our emotional equilibrium and respond to situations with clarity and reason. Furthermore, the Stoics would urge us to reframe adversity as an opportunity. This is a deliberate shift in perspective from seeing a challenge as a threat to seeing it as a test of our character, a chance to practice virtue. This is the essence of the Stoic formula. The obstacle is the way. A difficult person is not an annoyance. They are a training partner for your patience. A failure is not an end. It is a lesson in resilience. An illness is not a curse. It is a chance to practice courage. By consciously choosing this perspective, we transform the very nature of our struggles. They cease to be burdens and become a curriculum for our growth. Tonight, as you lie in bed, you can practice this art of perspective. Think of a challenge you faced today. Try to see it from a different angle. Can you view it from above? Can you describe it in purely objective terms? Can you find the hidden opportunity for virtue within it? This is not about self-deception. It is about exercising your freedom to choose your response. It is the conscious cultivation of a mind that is not a passive victim of circumstances, but an active creator of its own experience. You hold the paintbrush. You choose the colors. Rest now, with the peaceful power of a master artist, ready to paint a masterpiece of a day tomorrow. The Stoic path is one of continuous self-improvement, a lifelong commitment to moving from ignorance to wisdom. This journey requires humility, diligence, and a clear understanding of the process of learning itself. The Stoics were not interested in knowledge for its own sake, for intellectual display. They were interested in wisdom, knowledge that is integrated, embodied, and used to live a better life. The first step on this path is the Socratic recognition of one's own ignorance. "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing," said Socrates, a major inspiration for the Stoics. This is not false modesty. It is the essential prerequisite for all learning. The person who thinks they already have all the answers has a closed mind. Their cup is full and nothing new can be added. The person who is aware of their own ignorance has an open, curious, and receptive mind. They are ready to learn. Once we have embraced this humility, the next step is to seek out wisdom. The Stoics were great believers in the value of mentorship. They sought out teachers and role models who embodied the virtues they wished to cultivate. As we have discussed, this can take many forms: a living mentor, the study of historical figures, or a deep engagement with philosophical texts. The key is to learn not just from the words of the wise, but from their character, from the example of their lives. Reading philosophy is a central part of this process. For the Stoics, reading was not a passive consumption of information. It was an active dialogue with the great minds of the past. Seneca advised his friend Lucilius to read with a purpose, to treat the words of philosophers as advice from a trusted friend or a physician for the soul. He recommended not just reading widely, but reading deeply, returning to a few key texts again and again until their wisdom becomes a part of your own thinking. But reading is not enough. The knowledge must be put into practice, It must be tested in the laboratory of your own life. This is where the philosophical diary becomes so crucial. It is the bridge between theory and practice. Each day you have the opportunity to apply the lessons you have learned, and each evening you have the opportunity to reflect on your experience. Did I apply the dichotomy of control today? Did I respond to a challenge with virtue? What judgments caused me to lose my peace? This process of application and reflection is how knowledge is transformed into true, embodied wisdom. The Stoic journey of learning is a gradual one. It is not about a sudden, dramatic enlightenment, but about a slow, steady, and persistent effort. As Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." We must be patient with ourselves. We will stumble, we will make mistakes. This is part of the process. The important thing is to get back up, to learn from our failures, and to continue the practice. Tonight, as you rest, you can affirm your commitment to this path of lifelong learning. Acknowledge the vastness of what you do not yet know, and feel the excitement and the humility that comes with that. Be grateful for the wisdom that is available to you, in books, in the example of others, and within your own capacity for reason. And be patient with your own progress. You are a student in the greatest school of all, the school of life. And every day is a new lesson. Rest now, with the peaceful and curious mind of a true philosopher. A fundamental aspect of the Stoic path to tranquility is the cultivation of a healthy relationship with our emotions. The popular caricature of the Stoic as a person who suppresses all feeling is a profound misunderstanding. The goal is not to eliminate emotion, but to understand it, to manage it, and to ensure that it is in harmony with reason. The Stoics made a critical distinction between what they called propathei, the initial involuntary impressions or first movements of emotion, and the full-blown passions, or pathe. For example, if there is a sudden loud noise, you might experience an involuntary jolt of fear. Your heart races, you flinch. This is a natural, physiological reaction. It is a first movement, and is not in itself a moral or rational failing. It is what happens next that is crucial. The passion of fear arises when we assent to a judgment about this first movement, when we add a story to it, such as, "That noise is a threat, I am in danger, this is terrible." It is this assent, this cognitive component, that transforms the initial impression into a disturbing and irrational passion. The Stoic practice, therefore, is to intervene in this process. It is to create a space between the first movement and the full-blown passion, and in that space, to apply reason. You can acknowledge the initial physical sensation, "My heart is pounding," without immediately buying into the catastrophic story. You can question the judgment. Is there any real evidence of danger? Is this fear rational? This practice of withholding assent from our initial impressions is a core mental discipline. It allows us to be the master of our emotional responses, rather than their slave. This applies to all the disturbing passions. Anger arises when we assent to the judgment that we have been unjustly harmed. Excessive grief arises when we assent to the judgment that we have lost something essential to our well-being. Envy arises when we assent to the judgment that someone else's good fortune diminishes our own. In each case, the emotional disturbance is not caused by the external event, but by our internal judgment about it. The goal of Stoic emotional training is not to become a robot, but to cultivate a state of apatheia, the absence of irrational passions. This is a state of deep inner peace and emotional stability. It does not mean you don't feel anything. A Stoic sage would still feel rational and healthy emotions, which they called eupatheiai. These include a rational joy in virtue, a rational caution to avoid vice, and a rational wish for the good of others. Their emotional life is guided by reason, not by impulse. Tonight, you can practice this gentle management of your emotions. As feelings from the day arise in your mind, try not to get swept away by them. Observe them with a calm and curious detachment. If you feel a pang of anxiety, you can say to yourself, "There is a feeling of anxiety." Acknowledge it without judgment. Notice the physical sensations associated with it, and then gently let it go. You do not need to analyze it or fight it. Simply by observing it without adding a story, you rob it of its power. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness in which your emotions arise and pass away. This awareness is a space of profound peace. By learning to rest in this space, you can navigate your emotional life with grace, wisdom, and an unshakable calm. Your emotions are like clouds passing through the vast sky of your mind. You are the sky, not the clouds. Rest in that spacious, clear, and peaceful sky. The Stoics taught that living a good life requires us to live in harmony with our social nature. As we've explored, we are citizens of the cosmic city, and our well-being is tied to the well-being of the whole. This leads to a profound emphasis on our relationships with others. Stoicism offers a powerful and practical guide to navigating the complexities of our connections with family, friends, and the wider community. At the heart of Stoic relationship advice is the virtue of justice. This means treating every person with fairness, respect, and kindness, recognizing their inherent dignity as a fellow rational being. This is our fundamental duty. However, the Stoics were realists. They knew that people are flawed, that relationships can be difficult, and that we will inevitably be hurt or disappointed by others. Their advice is not to withdraw into a solitary shell, but to engage with others from a position of inner strength and philosophical preparedness. When dealing with difficult family members or friends, the Stoics would remind us to apply the dichotomy of control. We cannot control their behavior, their moods, or their opinions. We can only control our own response. Trying to change another person is a recipe for frustration. The wise approach is to accept them as they are, while maintaining our own boundaries and our own virtue. We can choose to be patient when they are difficult. We can choose to be compassionate, recognizing that their flaws often stem from their own ignorance or suffering. We can choose to respond with reason rather than getting drawn into their emotional drama. This is not about being a doormat. It is about protecting our own inner peace while still acting with kindness. In friendship, the Stoics valued quality over quantity. A true friendship for them was a friendship of virtue. It is a bond based not on utility or pleasure, but on a mutual admiration for each other's character and a shared commitment to living a good life. Seneca wrote that a true friend is a second self, someone with whom you can be completely honest, someone who challenges you to be better, and someone who supports you on your philosophical journey. These deep, authentic connections are one of life's greatest treasures. They are a source of joy, support, and profound growth. To cultivate such friendships, we must first strive to be such a friend ourselves. We must be trustworthy, loyal, and committed to our own virtue. Like attracts like. A person of good character will naturally attract other people of good character. In our broader community, the Stoic duty is to be a good citizen. This means contributing to the common good in whatever way we can, according to our abilities and our role. It means participating in public life with integrity, speaking the truth, and working for a more just and rational society. It is the outward expression of our inner commitment to virtue. Tonight, as you rest, you can reflect on your relationships. Bring to mind the people you love. Send them a feeling of gratitude and a wish for their well-being. Consider one relationship that is challenging for you. Practice seeing that person with compassion. And set an intention to bring more justice, patience, and understanding to your interactions tomorrow. Your relationships are a rich and vital part of your life. They are a training ground for your virtue and a source of profound connection. By approaching them with Stoic wisdom, you can build bonds that are not just pleasant, but are truly good, meaningful, and enduring. As we approach the end of our nightly journey, let us consolidate our understanding of the Stoic path to a calm and resilient mind. The various principles we have explored, the dichotomy of control, amor fati, virtue as the sole good, the management of emotions, the importance of community, are not separate, isolated techniques. They are all interconnected facets of a single, coherent system for living well. They all work together to help us build and maintain our inner citadel. This inner citadel is the ultimate goal of Stoic practice. It is a state of mind that is so well fortified with reason, virtue, and psychological resilience that it cannot be overthrown by the chaos of the external world. It is a state of apatheia, freedom from disturbing passions, and eudaimonia, a deep and abiding flourishing of the soul. The construction of this citadel is a lifelong project. It requires daily vigilance, practice, and reflection. It is like maintaining a beautiful and productive garden. Each day you must tend to it. You must pull the weeds of irrational judgments. You must water the seeds of virtue with your intentional actions. You must prune the overgrown branches of excessive desire. You must ensure the soil of your mind is fertile with gratitude and humility. This is not easy work. It requires effort and discipline. But the Stoics would argue that it is the most important and rewarding work a human being can do. For what is the point of gaining the whole world if you lose your own soul, your own inner peace? The strength of your citadel is tested not in times of peace, but in times of storm. When adversity strikes, and it will, that is when your philosophical training is put to the test. The person without a well-built citadel is swept away by the winds of fortune. They are plunged into anxiety, anger, or despair. Their happiness is a fragile thing, completely dependent on external circumstances. But the person who has diligently built their inner fortress can withstand the storm. They may be battered by the waves, but they are not broken. Their foundation is secure. They can retreat into the calm, quiet center of their own mind, a place where fortune has no power. From this place of strength, they can navigate the difficulty with courage, wisdom, and equanimity. This is the promise of Stoicism. It is not a promise of a life free from pain, loss, or difficulty. It is a promise that you can develop the inner resources to face whatever life throws at you with grace and dignity. It is the promise of an inner freedom that is absolute and untouchable. Tonight, as you prepare for the final stage of rest, take a moment to appreciate the fortress you are building within yourself. Acknowledge the work you have already done, the insights you have gained, the strength you are cultivating. Every time you choose a rational response over an impulsive one, every time you practice gratitude, every time you act with kindness, you are adding another stone to your citadel. You are becoming stronger, wiser, and more at peace. This is the great work. This is the good life. Rest now, secure in the knowledge that you are the architect of your own soul, the master of your own peace, the unshakable guardian of your inner citadel. You have journeyed far tonight, through the ancient and timeless landscapes of Stoic philosophy. You have gathered the tools to build a mind that is calm, a character that is strong, and a life that is virtuous. These are not just intellectual curiosities. They are practical, life-altering skills that, with consistent practice, can transform your experience of the world. As you now stand at the threshold of sleep, this is not an end, but a beginning. Sleep itself is a Stoic practice, a letting go, a surrender to nature, a necessary restoration for the body and mind so that we can rise again to do the work of a human being. The principles we have explored are your companions for the journey ahead. The dichotomy of control is your compass, always reminding you where to direct your energy. Amor fati is your map, teaching you to love the very terrain of your life, with all its mountains and valleys. Virtue is your destination and your path, the sole good that gives your journey meaning. Premeditatio malorum is your shield, preparing you for the inevitable challenges you will face. The view from above is your telescope, offering you perspective and connecting you to the vast cosmic whole. Your inner citadel is your refuge, the fortress of tranquility you are building within your own soul, stone by stone, with each virtuous choice. Do not be daunted by the scope of this work. As Epictetus reminded us, no great thing is created suddenly. The path to wisdom is a gradual one, made of small daily steps. Be patient and compassionate with yourself. Celebrate your progress, however small. And when you stumble, as we all do not despair. Simply get up, dust yourself off, learn the lesson, and continue on the path. The Stoic life is not a life of perfection, but a life of progress. It is a commitment to being a little bit better, a little bit wiser, a little bit more virtuous each and every day. This is a noble and worthy ambition, the most important ambition you can have. As you now drift into the deep, restorative peace of sleep, let these teachings settle into the quiet depths of your being. Allow your subconscious mind to absorb and integrate this wisdom, so that you may awaken not just refreshed in body, but renewed in spirit. May you wake with a clear mind, a courageous heart, and a peaceful soul, ready to greet the new day as a new opportunity to practice the art of living well. The universe is waiting to see the unique and beautiful way you will play your part in its grand design. Rest now, wise philosopher. The work of the day is done. The peace of the night is yours. Imagine for a moment you are a sculptor, and the block of marble before you is your own life. Every day, with every choice, every thought, and every action, you are chipping away, shaping the stone. Are you sculpting a masterpiece, a true reflection of your highest potential? Or are you letting the external world, with its random pressures and opinions, haphazardly dictate the form? This is the central question that philosophy, in its deepest sense, asks us to confront. And tonight, we continue our journey into the heart of this question, guided by the timeless wisdom of the Stoics. You are here, in this quiet space, because you are ready to take the chisel into your own hands. You are ready to consciously and deliberately sculpt a life of meaning, resilience, and profound tranquility. The teachings of ancient masters like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus are not relics of a bygone era. They are a living, breathing guide for the modern soul. They offer us the tools to navigate the complexities of our world with grace and strength. As you settle in, let the noise of the day fade away. Let the worries about tomorrow recede. This is a time for you, a time to connect with the deep well of wisdom that resides within. Breathe slowly, and with each breath, let go of a little more of the tension you carry. Allow your mind to become a calm and receptive space, ready to absorb the lessons that have the power to reshape your world from the inside out. Tonight, we will not just learn, we will prepare to transform. The journey of a Stoic practitioner begins with a fundamental reorientation of what it means to be successful and what constitutes a truly good life. Our society often presents us with a very clear, albeit flawed, scorecard for success: wealth, status, possessions, and external achievements. The Stoics looked at this scorecard and saw it as a source of profound human suffering. They proposed a radical alternative. The only true measure of a good life is the quality of one's character, the cultivation of virtue. This is not to say that the Stoics were against having health, wealth, or good relationships. They called these things preferred indifference. It is preferable and natural to want them. However, they insisted that these external things are morally neutral. They do not make you a good or a bad person. A virtuous person can be poor, and a vicious person can be wealthy. Your moral worth and your capacity for true happiness or eudaimonia are completely independent of these external factors. This is an incredibly liberating idea. It means your happiness is not held hostage by the economy, by your boss's opinion, or by your social standing. It is entirely an inside job. The four cardinal virtues of Stoicism, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, are the four pillars of a good life. Wisdom is the ability to see the world clearly, to distinguish what is good, bad, and indifferent. Justice is the commitment to act with fairness and kindness towards our fellow human beings, recognizing our shared nature. Courage is the strength to face fear, pain, and adversity without compromising our principles. And temperance is the mastery of our own desires and impulses, the ability to live with moderation and self-control. The Stoic life is the daily practice of these virtues. It is about striving in every situation to be a little wiser, a little more just, a little more courageous, and a little more self-controlled. This is a game you can always win, because it is not dependent on the outcome. It is dependent on your intention and your effort. You may not win the promotion at work, but you can act with integrity and diligence throughout the process. You may not be able to heal a sick friend, but you can offer them your love and support with unwavering compassion. Your success is in the virtuous action itself. When you adopt this mindset, your entire life is transformed. Every situation, no matter how mundane or how challenging, becomes an opportunity, a training ground for your character. A traffic jam is a chance to practice patience. A difficult colleague is a chance to practice compassion. A personal failure is a chance to practice resilience. Life is no longer a series of events to be passively experienced. It is an active, ongoing project of sculpting your own soul. Tonight, as you lie in the stillness, reflect on your own definition of a good life. What is your scorecard? Are you measuring your worth by the fleeting standards of the external world, or by the enduring quality of your own character? Make a quiet commitment to yourself to shift your focus. Choose to value your integrity over your income, your compassion over your convenience, your courage over your comfort. This is the path to a wealth that can never be lost, a success that can never be taken away, and a peace that is truly unshakable. Rest now, with the deep and quiet satisfaction of a person who knows what is truly valuable and is committed to cultivating it. To walk the Stoic path, one must become a master of their own mind. The Stoics were brilliant psychologists who understood that our inner world is not a chaotic mystery, but a system that can be understood, trained, and directed. The key to this mastery lies in understanding the power of our judgments, or what they called assents. They taught that it is not external events that cause our emotional disturbances, but the judgments we make about them. An event itself is neutral. It is the story we tell ourselves about the event that gives it its emotional charge. Epictetus put this with stark clarity. People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. This is the foundational principle of Stoic psychology. For example, the rain is just water falling from the sky. It is a neutral event. If you had planned an outdoor picnic, you might judge the rain as bad, and this judgment will lead to feelings of disappointment and frustration. If you are a farmer whose crops are dry, you might judge the same rain as good, leading to feelings of relief and joy. The rain itself has not changed, only the judgment has. This insight gives us incredible power. If our emotional state is determined by our judgments, and our judgments are within our control, then our emotional state is within our control. This is the essence of emotional resilience. The Stoic practice is to become a mindful observer of our own thought processes. When an impression enters your mind, you do not have to immediately accept it as truth. You have the power to pause, to examine it, and to decide whether or not to give your assent. This is like being the bouncer at the nightclub of your mind. You don't have to let every thought in. You can check its ID. Is this thought true? Is it helpful? Is it rational? If a thought is irrational or unhelpful, for example, a catastrophic thought like, everything is ruined, or a self-deprecating thought like, I'm not good enough, you can refuse to grant it entry. You can say, as Epictetus advised, you are a mere impression, and not at all what you appear to be. Then you can consciously choose to replace it with a more rational and virtuous judgment. This is not about suppressing thoughts or pretending you don't have them. It is about engaging with them consciously and rationally. It is about taking responsibility for the quality of your inner world. This practice, repeated over and over, is like training a muscle. At first it may feel difficult. Our habitual, automatic judgments are strong. But with consistent practice, you can build the mental strength to choose your responses deliberately. You can learn to remain calm and clear-headed, even in the face of provocation or adversity. Your mind becomes less like a weather vane, spun around by every passing wind of circumstance, and more like a gyroscope, stable and centered, no matter how the world tilts. Tonight, as you lie in bed, you can practice this gentle art of mental gatekeeping. As thoughts arise, observe them without immediate assent. Notice the stories they are trying to sell you. If a worry about tomorrow appears, you can acknowledge it. A thought about the future, and then gently let it go, returning your focus to your breath. If a memory from the past brings a pang of regret, you can observe it. A thought about the past, and let it pass without getting entangled in its narrative. You are the master of your mind. You have the power to choose which thoughts you will entertain and which you will politely decline. Rest in the quiet authority of that power. Your mind is your sanctuary. Keep it peaceful. Keep it clear. The Stoic philosophy provides a powerful framework for navigating the inevitable reality of human fallibility, both our own and that of others. We live in a world of imperfect beings, and to expect perfection is to set ourselves up for constant disappointment and frustration. The Stoics, with their characteristic realism, offered a path to dealing with mistakes, insults, and injustices with grace and equanimity. It begins with our response to the flaws of others. When someone acts rudely, dishonestly, or unjustly, our immediate untrained reaction is often anger. We feel personally wronged. The Stoics would urge us to pause and apply reason. They would argue that the person who does wrong harms themselves far more than they harm us. Their vice is a sign of their own ignorance and unhappiness. They are, as Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, unable to distinguish good from evil. Seen from this perspective, the appropriate response is not anger, but a kind of compassionate pity, or at the very least, a clinical detachment. Their poor character is their problem, not yours. You should not allow their vice to infect your soul and disrupt your peace. The best revenge, as Marcus wrote, is to not be like your enemy. Your victory lies in maintaining your own virtue in the face of their lack of it. This also applies to how we handle insults. An insult is merely someone's opinion, and their opinion is an external thing, outside of our control. Why should we give the uninformed judgment of another person the power to disturb our inner tranquility? The Stoic response is to be like a rock against which the waves crash in vain. You can choose to be indifferent to their words, recognizing them as meaningless noise. Or you can even use humor, agreeing with the insult in a way that shows it has no power to harm you. This approach requires a strong inner citadel, a sense of self-worth that is based on your own character, not on the validation of others. Now, let us turn the lens inward to how we deal with our own mistakes. We are often our own harshest critics. When we fall short of our own standards, we can fall into a spiral of guilt, shame, and self-recrimination. The Stoics would see this as an unhelpful and irrational passion. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to make progress. When you make a mistake, the rational response is not to berate yourself, but to analyze the error objectively, learn the lesson it has to teach, and resolve to do better in the future. Guilt and shame are backward-looking emotions that keep us stuck in the past. The Stoic is forward-looking. They accept their past mistakes without being defined by them. They use them as data for future improvement. Seneca advised that we should treat ourselves as we would treat a good friend. We would not relentlessly criticize a friend for a single mistake. We would offer them compassion, encouragement, and constructive advice. We must learn to offer ourselves the same grace. Forgiveness, therefore, is a twofold practice. It is forgiving others for their failings, not for their sake, but for our own, to free ourselves from the poison of resentment. And it is forgiving ourselves for our own imperfections, allowing us to move forward on the path of growth without being weighed down by the baggage of the past. Tonight, as you lie in the quiet, practice this dual forgiveness. Let go of any grudges you are holding against others. Release them from the prison of your judgment, and let go of any harsh criticism you are holding against yourself. Accept your own humanity with all its beautiful fallibility. You are learning. You are growing. That is all that can be asked of any of us. Rest now in the profound peace of a heart that is free from blame and full of grace. The Stoics taught that the universe is governed by an all-pervading reason, the Logos, and that our purpose as human beings is to live in accordance with this universal nature. A key part of our nature is our innate sociability. We are not designed to be solitary creatures. We are designed to live in communities, to cooperate, and to support one another. Therefore, our relationships and our role in the community are not peripheral concerns. They are central to a well-lived life. This understanding gives rise to the Stoic concept of oikeiosis, which can be translated as a sense of belonging or affinity. This sense begins with ourselves and expands outward in concentric circles, to our immediate family, our friends, our local community, our country, and ultimately to the entire human race, the cosmopolis or cosmic city. We are all fellow citizens of the universe. This perspective has profound ethical implications. If we are all part of one body, then the well-being of each part is connected to the well-being of the whole. Harming another person is like the left hand harming the right. It is irrational and unnatural. The primary social virtue for a Stoic is therefore justice, which encompasses fairness, kindness, honesty, and a commitment to the common good. Our interactions with others become a primary training ground for our character. Every day we are presented with opportunities to be patient, to be compassionate, to be helpful, to be just. This does not mean that we should be naive or allow ourselves to be exploited. The Stoics were clear-eyed realists. They knew that many people act out of ignorance and vice. Our duty is to act virtuously ourselves, regardless of how others behave. We cannot control their actions, but we can control our own. We can choose to respond to rudeness with calm, to dishonesty with integrity, to selfishness with generosity. In doing so, we not only protect our own inner peace, but also act as a positive force in the world, a small beacon of reason in the darkness of human folly. The role of friendship was particularly important to the Stoics. They distinguished between friendships of utility or pleasure and true friendships of virtue. A true friend, as Seneca described, is a second self, someone with whom you can share your deepest thoughts, who holds you accountable to your own highest standards, and who travels with you on the path to wisdom. These relationships are rare and precious, and they are built on a foundation of mutual respect and shared values. To have such a friend, one must first strive to be such a friend. In our broader community, our duty is to be a good citizen. This means more than just obeying laws. It means actively contributing to the welfare of our society according to our abilities. For an emperor like Marcus Aurelius, this meant governing with justice and wisdom. For a teacher like Epictetus, it meant sharing his philosophical insights. For each of us, it means finding our own way to serve the common good, whether through our work, our volunteer activities, or our simple daily acts of kindness. Tonight, as you rest, feel your connection to the great web of humanity. You are not alone. You are part of a vast family. Your life has an impact on countless others, just as their lives have an impact on you. Set an intention to live up to the responsibilities of this connection, to be a source of justice, kindness, and support in your own concentric circles. Find peace in this sense of belonging, in the knowledge that your life has a purpose that extends beyond your own individual concerns. You are a citizen of the cosmos, and in playing your part well, you find your own true and lasting fulfillment. As our exploration of Stoic wisdom for a calm mind draws to its natural conclusion for the night, it is essential to touch upon the ultimate event of life, death. The Stoic approach to mortality, encapsulated in the phrase memento mori, remember you will die, is not a morbid obsession, but a powerful, life-affirming practice. By keeping the reality of death in mind, the Stoics believed we could live more fully, more virtuously, and with a profound sense of peace. Fear of death, they argued, is one of the greatest sources of human anxiety. It is the shadow that lurks behind all our other fears. We fear illness because it brings us closer to death. We fear loss because it reminds us of the ultimate loss. We desperately cling to wealth, fame, and pleasure in a futile attempt to distract ourselves from our own finitude. The Stoic response is not to run from this fear, but to face it with reason. They would begin by analyzing death itself. What is it? It is the cessation of consciousness, the dissolution of the body. It is a natural process, the inevitable conclusion to every life. It is not an evil, for it cannot harm our character. It is, in the Stoic categorization, an indifferent. As Epictetus said, it is not death or pain that is to be dreaded, but the fear of pain or death. The suffering comes from our judgment that death is a terrible thing. The practice of memento mori works to dismantle this judgment. By regularly and calmly contemplating our own mortality, we desensitize ourselves to the fear. It is a form of cognitive exposure. What was once a terrifying, unthinkable concept becomes a familiar, accepted reality. This acceptance is incredibly liberating. When you are no longer afraid of death, you are no longer afraid of life. You are free to take risks, to speak the truth, to live authentically without being held back by the fear of what you might lose. Remembering death is also a powerful tool for cultivating gratitude and presence. When you are acutely aware that your time is limited, every moment becomes infinitely precious. You are less likely to waste your days on trivialities, on petty squabbles, on mindless distractions. You are more likely to focus on what truly matters: your relationships, your personal growth, your contribution to the world. You savor the simple beauties of existence: a sunrise, a conversation with a friend, the feeling of your own breath, because you know they will not last forever. This practice also provides the ultimate perspective. The view from above shows us our smallness in the cosmos, and memento mori shows us our smallness in time. In the face of our inevitable end, our daily anxieties and ego-driven dramas are revealed in their true, insignificant proportions. Is this argument really worth the precious, unrepeatable moments of my life? This question, asked honestly, can bring an instant sense of clarity and peace. Tonight, you can practice a gentle memento mori. As you lie in the stillness, acknowledge the simple, natural fact of your own mortality. This is not to create fear, but to awaken a sense of profound appreciation for the life you have right now. Be grateful for this day that has passed. Be grateful for this breath that you are breathing, and set an intention to live the day that comes tomorrow with the awareness, the purpose, and the joy of someone who knows that their time is a precious and finite gift. The secret to a good life is not to live forever, but to live well. By remembering death, you learn how to truly live. Rest now in the deep and peaceful wisdom of this ultimate truth. You have journeyed through the core principles of Stoicism, gathering the wisdom needed to cultivate a mind that is not only calm, but also strong, not only peaceful, but also resilient. You have learned that your power lies not in controlling the world, but in mastering yourself. You have discovered that true wealth is not in what you have, but in who you are. As you prepare to let sleep embrace you, understand that this is more than the end of a nightly lesson. It is the beginning of a daily practice. The Stoic path is not a destination you arrive at, but a road you walk, step by intentional step. The seeds of tranquility have been planted in the fertile ground of your mind. Now you must tend to them. Nurture them with your daily choices, with your moments of reflection, and with your commitment to living a life of virtue. Awaken tomorrow not with the burden of expectation, but with the quiet joy of a fresh opportunity. An opportunity to be patient, to be courageous, to be kind, to be wise. Greet the challenges of the day not as obstacles, but as the very curriculum your soul needs to grow. See every interaction as a chance to practice justice and compassion. And at the end of the day, return to this place of quiet reflection, ready to learn, to let go, and to rest deeply once more. The peace you seek is not in a distant future or a different set of circumstances. It is here, now, within you, waiting to be cultivated. You are the gardener of your own soul. You are the architect of your inner citadel. You hold the power to live a life of profound meaning and unshakable peace. Rest well, philosopher. Your journey has just begun. Imagine yourself as an ancient tree, your roots delving deep into the earth, drawing strength and stability from the very ground of your being. Your branches reach for the sky, flexible and responsive, dancing with the wind but never breaking. Storms may come, seasons may change, but your core remains steadfast, tranquil, alive. This is the image of the Stoic mind, a mind that is both grounded and adaptable, strong and serene. Tonight, you are invited once more to nurture this inner tree, to deepen your roots in the soil of timeless wisdom. The world outside may be a whirlwind of noise, demand, and uncertainty, but here in this quiet space, you can reconnect with the unshakable center within you. The teachings of the great Stoics are not abstract theories. They are practical, living truths that have guided souls through the most turbulent times in history. They are a compass for the heart and a fortress for the mind. As you settle into your rest, let go of the day's struggles and triumphs. They are but passing clouds. Your task now is to return to the clear, open sky of your own awareness. Breathe deeply, and with each exhalation, release the grip of your thoughts. Allow your mind to become spacious and receptive. The journey we embark on tonight is one of profound self-discovery and empowerment. Let the ancient words be a gentle rain, nourishing the roots of your own inner strength, so that you may grow ever taller, ever stronger, and ever more at peace. A central practice for the Stoic is the art of self-possession, of owning one's own mind. In a world that constantly vies for our attention, our energy, and our emotional response, the ability to remain centered and self-directed is a superpower. The Stoics understood that our inner state is our most valuable asset, and they developed powerful techniques to protect it. This begins with the practice of prosoche, or mindfulness. It is the continuous, vigilant attention to one's own thoughts, judgments, and actions. It is a state of being awake and present in your own life. The unattentive mind, the Stoics argued, is a mind that is easily hijacked. It is carried away by every passing emotion, every external provocation, every societal pressure. The person who lacks self-possession is like a ship without a captain, adrift on a chaotic sea. The person who practices prosoche is the calm, steady captain, holding the rudder firmly, navigating with purpose and clarity. This practice of attention is not a tense, anxious hypervigilance. It is a relaxed, open awareness. It is the ability to observe your inner world without getting entangled in it. When a thought of anger arises, the mindful Stoic notices it. A thought of anger has appeared. They do not immediately identify with it or act upon it. They observe it as a mental event, and this observation creates the space for choice. In that space, they can apply reason and decide on a virtuous response. This self-possession extends to our interactions with others. The Stoic strives to be in the world, but not of it. They engage in society. They fulfill their duties. They form relationships, but they do not allow the world to dictate their inner state. They do not hand over the key to their inner citadel to anyone else. This means being impervious to flattery and indifferent to insults. Flattery is just someone's opinion, an external thing. To be elated by it is to give away your power. An insult is also just an opinion. To be disturbed by it is to admit that this external noise has more authority than your own reasoned self-assessment. Seneca advised that we should live as if we are always in the view of a wise and virtuous mentor. This practice of imagining an ideal observer helps us to maintain our self-possession. We are less likely to act impulsively or unethically when we feel we are being held to a higher standard. It is a way of externalizing our own conscience, of making our commitment to virtue more tangible. Tonight, as you lie in the quiet, you can practice this profound art of self-possession. Own your mind, gently but firmly. Refuse to let it be colonized by anxieties about the future or regrets about the past. Own your peace. Do not let it be contingent on the approval or disapproval of others. Feel the quiet strength and dignity that comes from being the master of your own inner kingdom. Your mind is your own. Your peace is your own. Your character is your own. These are the only things you truly possess. Cherish them, protect them, cultivate them. Rest now in the secure and sovereign state of a soul that is truly its own. The Stoic path is not a solitary endeavor, but one that is enriched and strengthened through dialogue and shared inquiry. While the inner work is paramount, the Stoics understood the value of testing their ideas, clarifying their thoughts, and learning from the perspectives of others. The practice of philosophical dialogue, of engaging in reasoned and virtuous conversation, is a vital tool for growth. This is not the same as a debate, where the goal is to win, or a casual chat, where the goal is simply to pass the time. A philosophical dialogue is a collaborative search for truth. It is an exercise in which participants come together not to impose their own views, but to collectively deepen their understanding. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, taught his students in a public colonnade, the Stoa Poikile in Athens. This setting itself was open and communal, inviting dialogue. The practice of reasoned discourse was central to his method. To engage in such a dialogue requires several Stoic virtues. It requires humility, the willingness to admit that you may be wrong and the openness to change your mind. It requires justice, the commitment to listening to the other person with respect and representing their views fairly. And it requires temperance, the self-control to avoid getting emotional or defensive when your own cherished beliefs are challenged. In a world of polarized and often toxic public discourse, the Stoic model of dialogue is a powerful antidote. It is a way of communicating that seeks to build bridges, not walls. It is about understanding, not victory. How can we apply this in our own lives? We can consciously choose to have more meaningful conversations. We can approach disagreements not as battles to be won, but as opportunities to learn. When someone presents a different viewpoint, instead of immediately formulating a rebuttal, we can ask genuine questions. Can you help me understand why you see it that way? What experiences have led you to that conclusion? This approach transforms a potential conflict into a shared exploration. It fosters connection and mutual respect, even in the absence of agreement. We can also seek out or create our own Stoa, a community of like-minded individuals who are committed to philosophical growth. This could be a book club, a discussion group, or simply a regular conversation with a trusted friend. Having a space where you can safely explore challenging ideas, share your struggles, and learn from the wisdom of others is an invaluable resource on the philosophical journey. It provides support, accountability, and the joy of shared discovery. The practice of dialogue, also refines our own thinking. As Seneca noted, while we teach, we learn. In the process of articulating your ideas to another person, you are forced to clarify them for yourself. You see the weak spots in your own arguments. You are prompted to think more deeply and more precisely. The other person acts as a mirror, reflecting your own thoughts back to you in a way that allows for greater self-awareness. Tonight, reflect on the quality of your own conversations. Are they exchanges of information, or are they true dialogues? Do you listen to understand, or do you listen to reply? Set an intention to bring more philosophical curiosity and virtue to your interactions tomorrow. Seek to understand, not just to be understood, and value the profound growth that can come from a genuine meeting of minds. The search for wisdom is a shared journey. Rest now with the sense of connection that comes from being part of this great, ongoing human conversation. A core and often misunderstood aspect of Stoicism is its relationship with pleasure. In a hedonistic culture that often equates happiness with the pursuit of pleasure, the Stoic perspective offers a sobering and ultimately more fulfilling alternative. The Stoics were not against pleasure. They simply refused to make it the goal of life. They saw pleasure as a byproduct, a preferred indifferent, but not the main event. The problem with making pleasure your primary goal, they argued, is that it is inherently unreliable and often comes at a great cost. Pleasures are dependent on external factors, which are outside of our control. The fine wine, the luxurious vacation, the praise from your boss. These things can be taken away at any moment. To build your happiness on such a fragile foundation is to ensure a life of anxiety and disappointment. Furthermore, the relentless pursuit of pleasure often leads to its opposite, pain. The hangover after a night of excessive drinking, the debt from a shopping spree, the emptiness that follows a shallow encounter. These are the inevitable shadows that follow unexamined hedonism. The Stoics recognized that our desires, when unchecked, are insatiable. The more we get, the more we want. This is the hedonic treadmill, a state of perpetual dissatisfaction. The Stoic alternative is to find your good not in pleasure, but in virtue. The goal is to live a life of reason, integrity, and purpose. And here is the beautiful paradox. A life of virtue, the Stoics believed, is the most genuinely pleasant life. The joy that comes from a life well lived is not the fleeting, high-pitched excitement of pleasure, but a deep, stable, and serene contentment. It is the place of stillness, a sanctuary where reason gently orders your thoughts and soothes your emotions. Imagine your reason like a gentle flame, quietly illuminating your inner world, casting light upon your doubts, calming your fears, and guiding you forward with steadiness and truth.